Hey, welcome in. What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing? We're just getting set up here. Hope you guys had a good weekend. I'm having a great day, brother. Thank you, Prescott. Hope you're having a blessed evening as well. Went and saw the Grand Canyon with my woman. Traveled all around Arizona. Showed her what the mountains were like. Northern Arizona is nice. Beautiful. The Grand Canyon's absolutely beautiful. It's always packed with people. And, seeing the bend is always a trip. Puts in perspective what matters, what doesn't. Somebody was asking what's up with the Nick and Dan drama. I couldn't even tell you, dude. I was busy breathing in mountain pine air. Then went all the way up north into the Grand Canyon. The topography, the plant life, everything changes so dramatically. Like you start in the desert with cactus. In a few hours, it turns into brush and small trees. Then later, it turns into giant pine trees, mountain pine. Then, the further north you go, it turns into like high desert flatlands, like high desert grass. And then it turns into something that looks akin to like the moon. It looks like you're on top of the moon, these weird mounds of this dusty, dirty rock. And then it goes into red rocks and then the canyon itself. And that's all in a 4-hour span. So, it's actually beautiful. The fact that it can change, so that's what makes America incredible. It's the vastness and the different ecology and terrain and topography. It's so cool that you can... I need to do the Bunker Buster merch. I do. That's a good idea. But all of that makes America so special. I've always said what makes America special is nature. It's a beautiful place. Maybe I'm biased because I love nature and stuff like that, but I don't know. I think it's special. Europe's beautiful too, nature-wise. But America has it beat on just one point alone. They have deserts. Europe doesn't have a desert. America, you can actually get pretty much the world inside of America. It's so cool. So, overall, had a great week. That's why I haven't even been straight. Oh, and then on the weekend, went to a Serbian festival at a Orthodox church here in Phoenix. That was great. Very wholesome. Made some connections, met some people. So we're at church on Saturday. And that was great. Yeah, Australia is absolutely beautiful too and unique in its own way. I mean, there's things in Australia you can't find anywhere else in the world, which makes Australia very special. So I'd like to visit the land down under one day. Been on the bucket list for a while, ever since I grew up on The Crocodile Hunter, Steve Irwin. One of my childhood idols, probably the greatest Australian that ever lived. An exemplary human being that we should all aspire to, taken from us too soon. So, we need more people like that in the world. Just genuine good energy, dude. Has he ever had a negative moment? I don't know. I aspire to be like that. It makes me ashamed. But still, greatest Australian ever. I love that show, Crocodile Hunter. Crikey. And apart from that, just working really hard. Getting my app ready. Essentially, with the app, I have done a bunch of stuff in the background. And I started using ChatGPT's Codex also. This is a bit technical for you guys, but I'm now doing both. I'm running in parallel. This is a new thing I've taught myself now. I'm running agents parallel in my work trees, like I'm branching off and handing specific things in parallel. I blew through my $200 Claude subscription already. And I think I'm near max on my Codex 1RL, and I have to wait until Friday. So, any update on the clip farm business? No updates on the clip farming yet. It's too much on my plate. Dude, I still have to get with Jack to do content. I got another message from some other creators to do content, and I haven't been able to like reach out in a timely fashion to anybody. I've been traveling, going to church, all this shit, so I need to slow it down and kind of get on my grind again. Yeah. I want to. I have a lot on the plate. I'm trying, boys. I promise I'll reach out to you. I'm not being rude. I've just been super busy. Yeah. And then we're leaving in California soon, visiting my buddy. That's like my brother. He is my brother, pretty much. And seeing him and his family, I'm going to take her up the, I think it's Highway 1. Whatever it's called, the Gold Coast. Is that what it is? Forgot the name of it. We're going to start in San Diego and go all the way up. I don't know if we're going to make it to San Francisco, but I want to take her all the way up to the Sequoia. So I'm going to spend a day or two in like LA, because the drive from Phoenix is going to be 6 hours and some change just to San Diego. Another couple hours north to LA, and then we're going to stop there. And I'm going to show her, yeah, the Pacific Coast Highway. Yep. And I want to show her Manhattan Beach, Redondo, the OC, you know, the beautiful part, if it's still beautiful. I haven't been in California in a couple years now. I don't know if it's regressed or how much it's regressed, because under Biden, it was insane. The homeless people were everywhere. And underpasses, overpasses. I don't know. Look, California was going downhill, and I don't know if that even slowed down whatsoever in the last couple of years. And so sad to see, but hey, they always tell us, why do you cover politics? This shit doesn't matter. Yeah, well, in California, they have to avoid walking in human feces. So like, clearly politics matters. As much as you want to bury your head in the sand, you kind of have to pay attention. Yeah. Good old civic duty, at least it used to be. So. It's okay in NorCal, avoid San Francisco and Oakland. Yeah, unfortunately, San Francisco is where I would love to take her, because very few cities are beautiful like that. San Francisco, apart from the mess, is actually a very beautiful city, very picturesque. And it got taken over by idiots. Yeah. It is what it is, boys. I was telling her it's no surprise that California exploded and became one of the largest economies in the world, because it's almost, the weather is like back in Europe. That's very Mediterranean-like weather. It's mild, beautiful, lots of hills, mountains, anything from, you know, the South is all desert. The Southwest is just straight up desert. And then north, you run into like infinite waterfalls and forest, and it's like majestical looking. And that's in one state. So nothing beats it. Yeah. All right. We're going to get up in here and get started. I have a bunch of stuff today because we're behind. We got a lot. Let's turn off the music and just jump in. So this video got 1.1 million views, Says Jack Denmo lost his appeal of sexual assault conviction, sending him back to custody to serve a 3-year sentence on false accusations. And what the hell happened to this guy?
My name's Jack. I'm a content creator, or I used to be, until I had my life torn apart by a false accusation. Since this situation went public, I've received death threats, I've been banned from establishments, all of my YouTube channels have been taken down, I've lost friends, I've lost work opportunities, pretty much everything. I'm innocent. That's all I gotta say, really. Everybody knows I'm innocent. I did not want to have to make this video, but I've been silent on this issue for as long as possible, and enough is enough. My appeal was this month, and I'm waiting on the decision, so I still have to be extremely careful about what I say. My goal with this video is to share what happened in a non-biased a way as I possibly can. I'm gonna try my best not to be emotional and just be completely neutral here and share objective facts and evidence to show my innocence. The timelines of the encounter, inconsistencies in the evidence and testimony, and that there are enough inconsistencies to make you go read the full testimony yourself. Legally, I'm not allowed to say as much as I would like to, but I'm gonna do my best to share what I can. Before anything else, I do wanna say this. I believe survivors of sexual assault and false accusations of sexual assault deserve to be taken seriously and treated with compassion. I've been through both. Nothing I'm about to say is meant to minimize real harm. That being said, let's get into it. In February 2021, I was falsely accused and charged with sexual assault from a consensual encounter between myself and a woman in August 2020. I'll refer to her as the accuser. My legal team and I spent several years going back and forth to get records and evidence to help my case, and we finally went to trial in 2024, and the judge wrongfully convicted me. I say wrongfully as I have always maintained my innocence, and I will explain why in a bit. Based on how things go with my appeal, there are two options. Nightmare. Either the appellant court will order me a new trial, or I'll have to spend 3 years in jail for something I didn't do, and my life is essentially over. And in the meantime, there's been newspaper articles, there's been documentaries, and all kinds of misinformation put out. So now I'm gonna go over some information to help you get a better grip of what actually happened. At the time of the incident, I was a YouTuber, actor, filmmaker, and primarily known for pranks. I've been working full-time and earning a living as a content creator since approximately 2016. I met the accuser after matching with her on Tinder. Tinder is an app for people to go and hook up with. I recognized her from one of my party videos, McMaster Hoko 2019. On that day, this person managed to find me and my camera crew in a crowd of 10,000 people in order to be interviewed. After matching on Tinder, we messaged on Instagram, texting and flirting before agreeing to meet up. The accuser drove approximately 30 minutes from Oakville to my house in Hamilton, Ontario.
You see, and I already can tell you, 30-minute drive. You didn't go in there, sis, with any expectations of not getting dick down. You drove 30 minutes to a man's house that you knew he was YouTube famous, was making good money, had a cool lifestyle, and you're on a dating app, which is known for hooking up, and you drove 30 minutes to his house. It wasn't to say hello. How does this spiral out of control? The guy's now doing 3 years in prison for what? For what? Let's find out. I don't know. Don't know the guy, but I'm just taking the side of the man in jest because it's already starting with a bunch of bullshit. She drove 30 minutes to his place. What woman does that unless she knows what she's gonna get?
I invited her in, I showed her around, and then she asked for a tour of my YouTube studio. I suggested we should go for a hike. We then left my house and drove to a hiking trail, but upon arriving, it was getting dark, so we agreed to return to my house and watch Netflix and chill. Upon returning to my house, we did just that. We watched Netflix and we had a consensual encounter. I'm not proud to admit this, but at the time, I was sleeping around with a bunch of different women. The accuser also had multiple different partners recently before me, as per DNA evidence, as well as confirming sleeping with an alleged boyfriend just a few days prior to meeting me. Now, to clarify, this is not a judgment on her character. Rather, it's to provide context on our generation's modern culture of frequent hookup.
Also, you should be careful when you date chicks like that. When you hook up with his eyes are dead because he's going to do 3 years in prison for some whore off of Tinder that just smashed her so-called boyfriend a few days ago. That's why his eyes are dead, because he's fucked.
Perfect.
Adaven Valker donated CA $20. Being in the public eye is a double-edged sword. On one hand, you can make a lot of money. On the other, a lot of jealous idiots know who you are and can ruin your life. Being a tradesman has been good for me. No BS, no junk.
Well, thanks for the 20, brother. It is a double-edged sword. You can't walk around and do much. Well, it does affect you. As is everything in life. Oh, well. And careless, yeah, you could say that. Hey, listen, we have to put the onus on him also. Because if you have any bit of fame or notoriety, you're a target. And we live in a women-first, gyno-fascist environment. So he's going through all this trouble to try to clear his name and his reputation. The court already decided he's guilty. We're going to see how it looks with the transcripts and stuff. We could read them fully, but I'll just take his word for it on this video and see what's being covered. So a lot of people will say that's not fair, but neither is the court system. There's female bias in it. And it's unfortunate, but he is now going to do 3 years in prison. That's crazy.
In retrospect, I definitely should not have been sleeping with these women. But I was a young guy, and I was famous on the internet. I would often film a quick consent video when having sexual encounters with strangers that knew I had a large following as a proactive way to ensure I had clear consent from whoever I was hooking up with, especially women who have been featured in a previous video of mine. This is not a normal way to live, but it is common in society and especially amongst athletes, celebrities, and public figures. So during our encounter, I attempted to film a consent video and she informed me that she didn't want to be recorded. So I stopped the recording and deleted whatever was briefly recorded right in front of her. We then continued what we were doing, having a consensual sexual encounter. I want to be very clear here. The encounter was enthusiastic, ongoing. There was no confusion about it. She was consenting, as was I. She communicated consent in many different ways, particularly verbally, asking me to spank her and telling me during sex, "F me, f daddy," amongst other things. I don't want to repeat them, but you can go and read the things that she said to me in the transcripts. After finishing our encounter, we chatted briefly before I politely told her I had to be up early in the morning, and I asked her to leave. That was the conclusion of the date. Quoting from the court transcript, although the accuser originally told police that she was obviously fine with being asked to leave, her testimony at trial revealed otherwise. In cross-examination, she admitted that the dismissal did not feel good, and she agreed with trial counsel that she felt worthless because she was treated as a conquest or notch on Mr. Densmore's bedpost.
That's not rape. That's literally not rape at the start of that, right there in the transcripts. He used me as a hole. He's a famous dude. I thought I could lock down or I'd be special or seen as different in his eyes, and I wasn't. We went back to his place, got my cheeks beat. Then he told me to go because he's talking to multiple other dudes or women. And I told him I was just done getting smashed by my so-called boyfriend a few days ago. What? Do you see what I'm talking about here? This is the privilege that women have that men don't. Do you see this bullshit here? Believe all women. This is horse shit, literally 3 years. It's so dangerous. Unless you're an absolute, like, supreme level Chad that you could kick girls out and they're still fine with it because you're such a specimen, you better get consent forms in the world. You better record shit in your house. And you don't even have to tell them. You're allowed to in your private residence set up the camera, record shit, just keep it private, never release the stuff. But you could use that in court depending on where you live. And you can even tell her, hey, you can have one in the kitchen. It's fine. There's no expectation of privacy in your kitchen like that. Just have the conversation and, then move on to the bedroom. And you can see that it was all consensual because this is the kind of proof that will literally save your ass from situations like this. This is stupid. This is happening. Tinder. Bro, you have to move so carefully if you have any form of notoriety. Even as a normal man, you better move careful.
So in hindsight, I can absolutely see why this would make her feel bad. She had traveled to see me. She was texting her friends and family about me and our date ahead of time. In particular, some high expectations for me. Kicking her out was rude and dismissive. I didn't think that way at the time, but I regret how I handled that, and if I could go back, I would do things differently. With that being said, all of the sexual activity that we did was consensual. And when I say consensual, I don't mean ambiguous or neutral. I mean it was enthusiastic, encouraging, and ongoing. And I testify to that under oath. To put it simply,
yeah, you see, and I've told you guys this, like, I think a couple of years ago, the way you offload a woman after having sex with her, if you're in a very casual situation like this, or you're into the casual hookup stuff, never this way. I literally had a video multiple times. I've warned you guys how to text her afterwards, tell her you had a great time, have the proof there. Even if you didn't, don't fucking just kick her out the door and have an Uber ready. Play the game until she gets home. And once she gets home and you have the proof that she got home safe and she said, I had a great night, I loved it, thank you, all that stuff, blah, blah, I want to see you again, you can cut her off and fucking move on to the next one. He did the same exact shit. If you watched my video, then this would have never happened. And someone would say, maybe you shouldn't use people. What the fuck do you think she was doing, dummy? You don't think she was using him for his YouTube fame and all that shit? That is the hookup culture. Two people using each other. The difference is one has unilateral control over your freedom by just saying, I felt that he took advantage of me. Clearly he didn't. That's the stupidity. And I don't know how the fuck men are arguing against anything that's happening here. Well, he should have done that. He should have done this. Maybe you shouldn't have a legal system where a woman can retroactively withdraw her consent and then you go to jail even when the transcripts show that she was enthusiastic about it all. Isn't that fucking stupid? Does your brain not work?
The whole thing was a typical one-night stand. Just to be clear, my charge had nothing to do with filming a consent video. It was entirely based on an allegation that I non-consensually assaulted this person. This was shocking to me. It absolutely destroyed my mental health. And for months, I was so confused. What the f am I being charged with? We do know what the reasons were now, and we'll get into those later, but I was charged in February 2021, and these charges were then made public in October 2022 after the accuser contacted my city's local newspaper to run a story about these allegations before that year's McMaster Hoko was to take place. During this time, I felt absolute agony. I stopped making comedy and prank videos because I just, to put it simply, lost my sense of humor, and it's embarrassing to admit, but I felt helpless. Now I want to give you an overview on these things in society. Through legal counsel and many other stories that have been shared with me, I've learned that my case is not unique. False accusations are common and
yeah, Canada's a shithole anyways.
Absolutely devastating to the victims. For those that don't know, in Canada, there is no...
All right, it's a feminist shithole. Unfortunate for the Canadian men, but it is true.
No actual evidence required to charge and convict somebody in this type of crime. In most sexual assault cases, there isn't actually any concrete evidence. It ends up just being one person's word versus another. He said, she said situation. To put it simply, telling the truth is not enough. So as an accused person, the assault cases, there isn't actually any concrete evidence. It's no actual evidence.
Can you be charged with sexual assault without evidence? Yes, you could be charged with sexual assault in Canada without physical evidence. Here's what you need to know. The Crown can lay charges based on reasonable grounds even without evidence. Testimony from the complainant is legally considered evidence in court. Do you see how retarded that is? Every guy in here that I'm reading in this saying that he's guilty, he chose to play with dumb hoes. Listen, you fucking moron. You right here. You can go on a date with one girl, not be in any of this hookup culture shit. And you could go on multiple dates. And then she finally comes over to your house after you two have been seeing each other long enough and playing it slow, courting. And then she can retroactively withdraw her consent. And then you're going to prison and you were not being a hoe. You were not hooking up. You played it slow. You were doing the courtship. You met parents, all that stuff. And she goes, your dick is garbage. I wasted all this time. I'm upset. You raped me. Do you see it now, retard? How this affects all men? Does your retard brain conceptualize how this applies to anybody who has sex with a woman? Fucking insane.
Required.
Convictions can be made solely on credible witness testimony. Many Canadians falsely assume physical evidence is required. That's insane. You can go to jail without actual evidence, just on she said. As if women don't lie enough already. Believe all women. Have you fucking morons learned nothing? I can't believe there's dudes in this chat, of all chats, literally trying to put the onus on this guy. Fucking idiots. You guys are idiots. You guys are so those of you, this is like the mean-spirited part of me. I wish you guys go through 1/10 of what this dude goes through so you could shut the fuck up, because you're literally the enemy of men. In the chat right here trying to put the onus on him. I hope you get falsely accused, you fucking moron. And then Hopefully you don't get caught, but just enough to scare the fucking shit out of you. Not get caught, but not get convicted. Just so you could see the power women hold over you in fucking court. His testimony is what did him in. So I'm assuming, of course, all of this is, we'll see his testimony right now if he goes through it. But the fact that it is set up in law, enshrined in the legal system this way is fucking tyrannical.
To charge and convict somebody in this type of crime. In most sexual assault cases, there isn't actually any concrete evidence. It ends up just being one person's word for...
Yeah, look at this. Key aspects of evidence in Canadian sexual assault cases. No corroboration needed. There is no legal requirement for evidence to be corroborated to secure a conviction. Fucking hell. Credibility is central. Okay. So it just hinges on, it says, trials frequently hinge on whether the court believes the complainants to believe all women. Types of evidence used. While physical evidence is not required, great. Courts may consider witness statements, circumstantial evidence, text messages, social media logs, and expert testimony. So if they want to put you in jail in Canada as a man, they literally can do it with almost any woman you've ever slept with ever in your entire life. Rape shield laws prohibits the use of complainants' past sexual history to suggest they're more likely to have consented or less worthy than belief. So how the fuck does that last rape shield law work with credibility is central? If you have a chick that's a nympho and loves having sex and fuck 50 dudes in the last 30 days, how is the... So you see how women have it both ways? You can also be a whore, but also still be credible as if you're some virgin. Fuck. Dude, Canada is a fucking shit hole. Wow.
Versus another he said, she said situation. To put
Kangaroo
it simply,
courts.
telling the truth is not enough. So as an
Holy
accused
fuck.
person, the only strategy you have is to find lies, discrepancies, contradictions in the accuser's story. So imagine you or your loved one is being accused despite there being zero evidence. If you or your loved one's defense lawyer cannot question the credibility of the person making these accusations, it will most likely lead to a conviction, and there's nothing you can do about it. As much as this system and laws were put into place with good intentions to help real victims and real survivors, an unfortunate side effect is that they are highly abusable and exploitable. They often take years of time, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the accused person loses their job, loses their reputation, and is publicly shamed, and potentially even ends up in jail for something they didn't do. But aside from that, from the defendant's standpoint, there are also laws that have been put into place to make it even more difficult to defend yourself. In a normal trial, you can get access to information such as records, messages, emails, etc. Yeah. However, in assault cases, the police and prosecutors can, and in my case, they did, actively redact any and all information or evidence to prevent you from using it in your defense. So in my case, it was brought to our attention that there were thousands of communication records that had been redacted by the police. We later found out that the police not only redacted all of this data, but they actually emailed the accuser and said, "Is there anything specifically that you would like us to redact?" And then she replied saying, "Yes, I would like you to redact all of the emails with my therapist and all of the communications with her alleged boyfriend, and in particular, specific emails that were very, very telling about what actually happened that night." And I will get into them later on. But anyways, back to the evidence. At one point, I remember they gave us about 90 different pages, and around 80 of them were completely blacked out. I'm not a lawyer. I'm actually kind of an idiot. But from what I've been explained by legal counsel, this makes it incredibly hard to defend yourself at trial. For example, if there is evidence that we're bringing that contradicts their version of events, they can change their version of events before trial. So why is it like this now? Well, first...
Are you hearing this? Are you hearing this? Yeah, what is a fair trial in Canada? Are you hearing this? This is crazy.
First of all, obviously,
I'm blown
it's intended
away.
to protect real survivors from privacy concerns as well as trials being delayed. But what it really is they essentially wanted to get more convictions. After the 2016 acquittal of John Gomeshi, which led to significant changes to Canadian law, frequently referred to as the Gomeshi Rules. This was implemented via Bill C-51 and subsequent legislation, which are designed to make it easier to secure convictions by altering how evidence regarding a complainant's credibility is handled. These changes were meant to counteract how in the Gomeshi trial, the defense was able to use contradictory evidence like emails and photos to successfully challenge the credibility of witnesses and get an acquittal. In some
Basically, how you would prove that it was consensual. So they literally made it so that you cannot prove it was consensual. That's literally what he just said. So they challenged in this Gomeshi thing the credibility of the witness. This is what this means. They found her text messages. They found emails. They found photos showing you and whatever girl having a great time. It all is consensual. It completely corroborates your story and discredits hers. Can't have that in the gynofascism we live in. So what do? We're going to change the laws in massive favor of women, huge bias, so that you could change your testimony and redact anything that could be used to challenge your credibility and get a conviction much easier based on her word alone. That's crazy. Is that the male privilege we're told about, eh?
Summary, because of Bill C-51 and the Gomeshi rules, if there is evidence that shows contradictions in the accuser's statement, it can be discarded. And even if it's not discarded and it is allowed at trial, it has to be given to them and approved, and that gives them the opportunity to prepare for it and potentially alter a story. This is what has been put into effect to get more convictions. The problem is it is potentially at the cost of innocent people going to jail and having their life ruined. Again, I want to preface, I am not a lawyer, but that is my understanding of the law and I'm open to being corrected. Now, right off the bat, from the statements of the accuser alone, we had many examples of inaccuracies, contradictions, and story changes. But once we found out that there was all of this actual evidence that had been intentionally redacted, we became very curious. After several years and over $100,000 just in pretrial application costs, we were able to get a significant portion of the redacted evidence, including emails, text messages, etc. After reviewing them, it was quite clear that there were multiple strong motives to fabricate these allegations. Now, if we go back to the encounter, remember that the accuser only actually had an issue with my attempt to film a consent video. This is what was so confusing to me because I was there. She initiated sex with me afterwards and we continued having sex. All of this material is available in the official trial transcripts, which you can go over in the description. But even though I deleted whatever was recorded, she had a massive concern on whether or not this video still existed and was worried that it would be circulated online. And we know this because it was mentioned multiple different times. For example, from the April 18th transcript. And what about if he actually took a video? If he did and that got out, that could ruin my entire life. That is from the email she sent her therapist the night of our date. From April 18th, this is at 2:22 p.m. on August the 7th, 2 days after August the 5th. Also, I'm going to the police, maybe not to press charges, but I want to tell them and report it and see if they could do anything about him possibly taking a video or picture of me. End quote. Wow. My lawyer asked, "You sent this, right?" She responds, "Yes." My lawyer, okay, so again, the primary purpose for going to the police that you are sure you want them to do something about is to see if he took pictures or videos of you. The accuser, yes. Lawyer, and in your mind, you would agree that that would entail them having to at least go to his house, talk to him. Accuser, yes. And taking his phone. Accuser, yes. Okay, and then making sure that there wasn't anything there that you had in a compromised picture or video, right? Accuser, yes. If you want to double check this, this is all in the testimony on April 18th. So when she contacted the police, her concern was to know for sure that the video was truly deleted. However, the only way that the police can search a phone is by obtaining a warrant, and a warrant can only be obtained if there was a crime. From the appeal, although this factual conclusion was not mandatory, given the evidence, reaching it meant that when the accuser left Mr. Densmore's home, she believed he possessed a compromising video of her on his phone, which increased the probative value of evidence supporting a potential motive to fabricate. As Justice Krawchenko concluded, the accuser's most significant concern was that Mr. Densmore had images or videos of her on his phone. It was essential to consider whether the accuser made the sexual assault allegation partly or fully to prompt police to access his device, especially since the police apparently would not take action unless she made a formal complaint. In regards to her email to the police, she said, "I'm unsure if I want to press charges at this time, but I'm deeply concerned as to if he has any photos or videos of me." Following back and forth communication with the police, the accuser eventually went in and gave an official statement nearly 2 months later. She then described a non-consensual encounter that, to be frank, did not.
2 months of deliberating in your head, talking with your girlfriends, bullshitting with your therapist that hates men, and being coaxed by police to just press charges so we can get a conviction and look good on paper. Fucking hell. Isn't that a system worth burning down? What do you pay taxes for in Canada? Just asking.
Happen. I'm going to try and say this as politely as possible. There are multiple points in the accuser's testimony which contradict her police statements and her testimony at trial. I want to share a few major discrepancies and then you can decide for yourself. Now, as a warning, some of the information I'm about to share is graphic and potentially triggering, but I must go into these details so that you can see just a couple of the major discrepancies and inconsistencies in this person's testimony. I am just comparing her version of events compared to her other versions of events and her own testimony. Let's proceed. The accuser testified that I aggressively removed her shirt and pulled down her dress. In testimony, she claimed, he started by removing my shirt and pulling down my dress so that my breasts were exposed. Then, in cross-examination, she further insisted, no, he didn't ask me to take it off. He just started to take it off. My lawyer asked again, you're sure about that? To which the accuser confirmed, yes. She made this allegation in testimony and then doubled down on this in cross-examination with my lawyer. However, these new allegations she made in her testimony are totally different from her actual statement to police. To police, she said, so we went to his room and we were like just sitting on his bed and he put on a show on Netflix and then he put his arm around me and then after a few minutes kissed me, which I was okay with. And then he told me like, take off my shirt, which I was comfortable with because I was like wearing a dress underneath it. So in her original story, she claims that I politely requested her to take her shirt off and she did it herself voluntarily and comfortably. However, at trial, she said, he started by removing my shirt and pulling down my dress so that my breasts were exposed. Then in cross-examination, she further insisted, again, as part of this aggressive encounter she's trying to paint, no, he didn't ask me to take it off. He just started to take it off. My lawyer confirmed, are you sure? She confirmed, yes, that is how it happened. However, my lawyer then confronted her with her own original statement to police, and he reminded her that this is what she said. And then he asked her again, what actually happened. She then confirmed her original story, which is that I asked her to take her shirt off and she did so voluntarily. My lawyer further confirmed asking, because you're the one that took your shirt off with his request, and that was your way of showing interest or consenting, right? To which she responded, yes. This is a clear example of willingness to intentionally remove and omit participation and change details to suit the false narrative of an aggressive, non-consensual encounter, which to put it simply, just never happened. Moving on. There were fabricated bruises. The accuser claimed that I aggressively bit her breasts, causing bruising, swelling, and red marks for days after. On August 6th, less than 1 day after our date, the nurse examined her breasts and found 0 bruising, 0 swelling, and 0 red marks. This was totally fabricated. From the appeal, in her examination in chief, the accuser described an aggressive sexual assault. It began when Mr. Densmore removed her shirt and pulled down her dress, exposing her breasts. She testified that Mr. Densmore kissed and bit her breasts, which was quite painful, and that the biting left bruises and red marks that lingered for 2 to 3 days after their encounter. He then pushed her onto her back, got on top of her, and penetrated her digitally. Page 34. Though the events described above qualify as a violent sexual assault, Justice Krawchenko flatly rejected the accuser's account, noting how it conflicted with evidence from the nurse who examined the accuser's breasts and found no bite marks or bruising. He also noted a major inconsistency about digital penetration that was brought out in cross-examination. This is another clear example of fabricating an aggressive, non-consensual encounter, as the accusations of bruises, bite marks, and red swelling for days after were entirely fabricated and confirmed by the nurse, not days after,
that's crazy,
but the next day, August 6th. Next, in her police statement, she said,
Pause for a second. What?
days after were entirely fabricated and confirmed by the nurse. Not days after, but the next day, August 6th.
What credibility does she have left after that lie? Wow.
Next, in her police statement, she said that I got on top of her aggressively, and in her description to the Crown, she shared detailed allegations about this without any mention of her participation. In April 17th cross-examination, however, she admitted that after a few minutes of kissing, she swung her legs over my body and straddled me before removing her shirt. Straddling as in mounting me, so sitting on top of my genital area, and grinding her.
No way. That's 1 second. When the Crown asked the SM, the victim, right, to explain how the kissing progressed, she immediately responded with details concerning that Mr. Densmore did without any mention of her own role. In cross-examination, however, the woman admitted that after a few minutes of kissing Mr. Densmore, she swung her leg. I want you to hear this for a second. In cross-examination, the woman admits after a few minutes of kissing this guy, she swung her legs over his body and started straddling him before removing her shirt. So she's on top of him, cowgirl, essentially, straddling her hips and then taking her shirt off on top of him. She is in the, I guess you could call it the dominant position there. She is on top of him. He's not on top of her, forcing her shit off of her body, the clothes, all that. She is on top of a man, removing her shirt by herself, straddling him, pinned him to the ground. Are you tired, boss? Are you tired of the system you're paying taxes for?
Legs over my body and straddled me before removing her shirt. Straddling as in mounting me, so sitting on top of my genital area and grinding her groin area directly on mine while sitting upright on top of me. She also...
So he could have retroacted it, pulled his consent there and be like, she fucking straddled, she was raping me. She was using me.
Said now that she smiled and moaned and that I would remark I liked it or moan. Again, this shows that she was an active participant, contrary to all of her previous statements. This is from April 17th, 2024. Next, in a statement to police, she said that she didn't make a single noise or sound besides ow. Then in cross-examination, she admitted to making noises, moaning, and saying, I like it, during various stages of sexual activity to show her consent that she was an active participant. From the appeal, another inconsistency was the accuser's avowal that the vast majority of the encounter took place in near silence. In chief, she was a silent recipient of Mr. Densmore's advances. She testified that, other than providing her with specific directions, the only sound made by either party was Mr. Densmore calling her a slut. In closing submissions, trial counsel describes the accuser's initial depiction as an incomprehensible narrative of a silent movie. It also seemed to be incomprehensible to the accuser, who admitted on cross-examination on multiple occasions that they were both moaning and that she was breathing heavy and that she uttered the words, I like that.
This is
Next,
crazy.
we're going to start talking about some of the therapist statements. Now, I understand that therapy is something that is very personal, it's very private, and a lot of people watching this might be in therapy, so I'm not using this in any way to try to minimize therapy or discredit therapists in general, okay? Just want to start by saying that. There were many issues with the statements to the therapist, including inaccuracies given to the therapist by the accuser, which led to the therapist giving very strong opinions and recommendations, which ended up leading to reshaping what actually happened in the mind of the accuser. In addition to collusion. And if you don't know what collusion is, Google it because it's very bad The accuser was asked about some of these statements throughout the trial. In this particular one from April 18th, my lawyer, okay, so you're not very truthful with your therapist, are you? The accuser, no, I'm extremely truthful to her. My lawyer, extremely truthful, right? Accuser, yes. My lawyer, that's how you characterize what you're saying to her. The accuser, yes. Here in particular, she made a statement to her therapist where she inaccurately depicted our date and implied, very dangerously, that I tricked her into coming into my house. I debated whether to
Hey, thanks for the sub, brother. Appreciate you.
send this or not because maybe I'm just being dramatic or stupid or overthinking or reading into something that didn't happen. Or maybe it just brought this whole thing onto myself. But I went on a date tonight. We were supposed to go for a hike and then drinks. But when I showed up to his house, he said it was too late to go for a walk, so we started watching a movie. My lawyer asked, have I read that accurately? The accuser confirms, yes. My lawyer, and that's not what happened, is it? Accuser, not all of the details, no. My lawyer, but that's what you told her happened, right? Accuser, yes. Pause. Inaccuracies like that are super important because they have a severe impact on the therapist's perception of events, which leads to responses from the therapist that, as a therapist's responses would, give massive influence over the accuser. So the therapist receives this amongst other inaccurate statements, continuing from April 18th. So these are your records that she's made about sessions that she's had with you, and the session date is Friday, August the 7th. We spent the session going over her experience and looking at potential stuck points where she blamed herself. In reviewing the evening, it is clear the accuser attempted to make good decisions and that he was clearly a predator, skilled in having her make small changes to their plans until she was in his apartment. Have I read that correctly? The accuser confirms, yes. The accuser claims to be extremely truthful to her therapist, giving a completely inaccurate statement about the date to her therapist with a very misleading implication. As a result, the therapist tells her with authority he was clearly a predator, skilled in having her make small changes to their plans until she was in his apartment. She then takes these...
The therapist is now putting in this chick's head, based on the lies she told the therapist, that this guy was a skilled predator. Sis, you were manipulated. That wasn't consensual. That was called rape. You need to put him in jail. You need to go to the police. You need to fabricate an entire case that is now an innocent man spending 3 years in prison over a completely broken system that Canadian men haven't burned to the fucking ground yet. This is crazy. You call this justice? This is tyranny. It's right in your fucking face, you Canadian morons. You are the same people that accepted the Canadian government when truckers were protesting to go into your fucking bank account and take your money just because you donated to some people that were keeping their trucks parked on the road to protest a bullshit government, taxation, whatever else. You deserve every fucking thing you tolerate in this world. This is what happens when people tolerate. That's why you're getting invaded by India. That is why your country is shit, economically hasn't grown for the longest time. Your infrastructure is falling apart because you brought in millions of people too quickly, and you cannot house them all, and there's no jobs, and you're being taxed to death. And now you get to go to court and get convicted because he said, she said. You don't even need evidence. Canadian men, are you okay with this? At what point, when does a man say enough is enough? We're done with this shit. And then make a change. At what point do you say, I'm not paying any more fucking taxes, and me and millions of other men are going to march on the Capitol, and we're going to make our voices heard? At what point have you motherfuckers had enough, dude? It's getting exhausting hearing this shit and watching this shit, and you talk about it constantly, and it's like, hey, let's make a change. Hey, the fucking breakdown, we did the deep dive on the unilateral power women have when it comes to like reproduction. and the gyno-fascist courts that support women, at what point does the asymmetry get exposed and you guys make a fucking difference? I'm one man talking. How many more brains must I touch before millions of men start to rise up? How many more content of red pill or manosphere or men's rights or whatever do you need to fucking consume before you go into your local elections and ask the candidates directly what you're going to do about all of this? How are we going to tackle the fucking court system's bias for women? How are we going to deal with the child support cases? How are we going to deal with the fact that men have no rights for reproduction? When a woman gets pregnant, she can abort my child unilaterally without me able to do something, without me having a say. But I can't financially abort and withdraw my financial consent when she does decide to have the baby. When the fuck are you guys going to wake up? People are always looking at me, asking me, man, what are you doing, bro? You should run for office. You should fuck off, bro. No. How about you and the millions of others that watch this and pass this around, get up off your ass, go to your local elections where they really matter the most, and start to ask these questions and make the viral clips. And make this a national conversation. I'm not going to change shit for you because I can't. I'm one person. But millions of us at the same time, yes. You've already seen that the government is full of pussies. They back down. If millions of men are marching on the street, some retard right now just said marching does nothing. Yeah, well, what happened with the Summer of Love and the Floyd the Great? He got enshrined and they made a fucking statue out of a drug-dealing retard, a criminal, because he choked himself out on fentanyl. So that guy gets a mural. He's enshrined in a fucking literal statue. And then they change the laws around shit. They start defunding the police. The government starts backing down. When people rise up in enough numbers, the government folds every single fucking time. They always fold. This government can't handle pressure. Our government in the United States, Trump is obsessed with poll numbers and optics. They couldn't even mass deport people. And he ran on that and got a mandate. Because, oh my God, it looks bad in the polls. In the polls for who? Democrats? Who gives a shit? In the polls for who? The Hispanic voter base that won't turn out for him. You'll realize that the thin line between actual power of the people and the government, it's almost non-existent. It's just really hard. It seems like a massive ice wall, like we're in Game of Thrones or something in the fucking north. It seems like it's that massive ice wall of the watch, but that's a figment of your imagination. It's a massive wall for one person. It's non-existent. It's smoke and mirrors for the millions. And that's what people need to understand. You saw a glimpse of the power. Did you see how much Canada was shitting its pants politically and economically when the truckers said we're done? It was just truckers, not all men, just truckers. And it included some women truckers and all that shit too, but all the trucking protests were, people were posting up barbecues. People were doing those bouncy boxes for their kids, wearing Canadian Patriot gear, flags and all that stuff, the maple leaf, everything. They were just barbecuing, hanging out outside, making their voices known. The government called them terrorists and tried to steal people's money, and they did out of people's bank accounts. They froze them. That was just truckers. Now imagine if a lot of men pull out financially in the system at once and march. How much? We like to say men are super important for the system, right? This is what this fucking argument blows my mind. Men are super important. We are the linchpin to society. We hold up. We are the foundation to all infrastructure and its ability to be service, functional, and delivered to the people. If that's the case, if millions of those men in that critical infrastructure, all of a sudden, all the electricians at the power plants, the electrical managers, the garbage men who collect the trash, the anybody else working on maintenance for the power lines and whatever else that, on the buses, on the whatever. If all those guys just decided to call it quits for a couple of weeks to go protest, how much degradation, how much of a shit show would you have on the local, on the national level? Don't you think that then becomes mainstream conversation right away? All of a sudden, the news networks are talking about all these men marching. All of a sudden, the government is now, Trump and whoever else, wherever this happens, has to now give a speech Oh, yeah, we need to give men, yeah, we do need to fix some things for men. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the slow political machine starts to get kicked into gear, right? It's only when they feel pain that they make a choice. That's it. Everyone's been too fucking quiet. Yeah, we saw it with the ports, too. When the ports closed down, the longshoremen, this guy's now in prison. Because we got, the same retards in the chat. Well, you should have been more careful. At what point, dude, are you going to wake up and understand no matter how careful you are, the system's gunning for you? You're living in a system where it only requires one simple mistake on your end to be sent to prison. You want to live in a world where you got to be careful and your sons have to be careful, and so you can't live your life because of how careful you have to be? Is that not tyranny? What the fuck system is that? What do you call that? We need to be careful. At one point, can you fucking breathe in anyone's direction without going to prison? When does it end?
Various responses she gets from her therapist and sends them to her friends and family. Also from April 18th. Yeah, Dr. Therapist said that he seemed very calculated in the way he acted, like he had thought it out, and that I'm not the first. So now she's giving false information to the therapist. Therapist is responding, and then she's taking what the therapist is responding and sending it to her friends using the authority of the therapist. This is one of the many messages that the accuser sent to her friends and family. You can see more in the May 31st closing arguments. Now, during testimony at trial, her statement changed. April 12th, you said the tour was approximately 15 minutes, nothing unusual. What happens after that? She answers, then he suggests that we go for a hike. Oh. And how did you then end up going for a hike? What happens after that? He suggested that we drive to a trail that was close by to his house. So I agreed to that, and we started driving there. So the accuser admitted that actually I suggested we go for a hike, which was the original plan, and then we left the house. Okay, so you described driving towards the escarpment. Accuser, Do you eventually stop somewhere? Accuser, no. He says that it's busy and that we shouldn't bother going on a hike because it's getting dark out. Going a bit down, then what happens? Accuser, so then he suggests going back to his house. Are you able to give us an estimate about how long you were trying to locate a hiking trail? Accuser, again, not long, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And so, did you agree with his suggestion to go back to his house? Accuser, I did. We then returned to the house after she agreed to return and watch Netflix and chill. But literally the same night as the date, August 5th, she then goes and tells a very different and inaccurate version the same night. So many implications, opinions, responses, and collusion and influences were.
Say, I'm female here, listening with our teenage son. Sad what society has become. And this is the worst part, is that all your female compatriots do not give a shit about this happening until they have their own sons. Only until they have their own sons. When they are forced to raise sons. When a woman becomes a mother and she thinks beyond herself for the first time in her life and has something she loves almost more than herself. Oftentimes women will say more than themselves, would sacrifice themselves for their kids. Only then do you get to see how unjust society is. Only then do women start speaking out for boys, for men, once they have their own children that are boys, that are male. And the rest of females, they don't care. They take, and want more and more power, more influence, more unilateral position in society to dictate the terms with men, to men, backed by the state, the enforcement arm, which is insane to think about. So most men are the ones that get sacrificed to go to war, are the ones getting sacrificed doing prison time, are the ones dealing with biased courts, but somehow women are allowed to vote equally to men in a privileged system like this. Why are women allowed this kind of privilege, have no responsibility, no expectations, no accountability, according to shit like this, because they don't even have to present real evidence, yet they can vote like men? This is why I say take women's rights away to vote. It's not a right. It's a privilege. Voting is a privilege. It's not a right. Voting should have been kept to a select few people, whether you owned land or you paid net contributing into taxes. Why are we allowing people to vote that don't have skin in the game? And we can modernize that system. Crazy.
Made from these inaccurate statements. And what's super concerning about all this, aside from that, she never corrected her therapist by saying, actually, he did.
This is the problem with democracy in general. Because everyone's allowed to vote, voting means nothing. And what I mean by that is everyone wants their slice of the pie. If you're black, if you're white, if you're Asian, if you're Hispanic, you want different things. If you're a man or a woman, you want different things. If you're a mother or you don't have children, you want different things. If you're a single man or you're raising a whole family, you're the head of a household, you want different things. If you're young, you want different things. If you're old, you want different things. If you're somewhere in between, you're in a different phase in your life and you need different things. Everybody is fighting to get the thing that they want and that they think they need in their phase in life or position in life or whatever it is you've been imbued with, those characteristics. So that means we have a hobbled system where competing ideas and competing needs are constantly battling for supremacy, so that none of us get what we need or what's best for us all. It's a hobbled together. Nothing gets met in the middle. There's always somebody getting left behind. That's a completely dysfunctional system. Democracy functions best when we're all on a unified track into the future, and that means people that are paying taxes into the system funding the exact welfare programs the rest depend on. If you own land and you're not going anywhere, if you're not a dual citizen, if you've served in the army and bled for the country or willing to, if you've done some side of civil service where you've helped clean up garbage, helped go into like not just cleaning programs, but maybe assist with nursing or elderly care, or helping with other social projects, preparing land, digging some holes, getting things right, some kind of civic engineering kind of deal. Hey, thanks for the 10 joules. Where does that come from? Sent gold coin for 10 joules. Appreciate you. That's from YouTube. I need a thank you. Let me write that in the notes. So if you volunteer in some of this fashion, civilly, then you get a right to vote, right? Oh my God, bro. He's sending tons of joules. I got to turn that off. We're going to have to, sorry, bro, but we're turning that off. That's crazy. Appreciate you, though. Because now he's spamming joules. I will just leave it on, whatever. Spam your joules, bro. Can I hit next on that? Can I skip these? Oh, that's on Streamlabs. I'm too lazy to change that shit. Send joules in, boy. Joule me up. Anyways, so if we had a system that was set up like that, where the only people voting are the ones that quite literally are the ones that get to have a say in society, then we would have a unified track in politics where the country's heading in the direction that it needs to go in. And then the freeloaders and the people taking advantage of the system, the ones that have no skin in the game, the very selfish ones that don't give a shit, the ones that don't care about the future because they obviously have no skin in the game, their needs don't matter. The politicians don't serve them. The politicians are then focused on serving the actual people that actually contribute to society. So then society would be functioning. But of course we don't. Something happened in society, I don't know what, where we decided that just giving everybody a vote, being all super liberal and woke and democratic in that sense, that no one is different, nobody is imbued with any characteristics, we're all just a blank canvas, this Marxist, postmodernist view that everything is a human construction. It's all fake. And so everybody gets to vote. Everybody is completely equal to everybody else in abilities and skills, no God-given talents in anybody else, and then destroyed the foundation of what makes a society function. This liberal worldview is exactly what makes society fail. Just saying.
Suggests going for a hike. And then we actually did leave the house and go to the hiking trail. And we only returned after she agreed to, because it was getting dark. Another thing she never acknowledged, the reason it was getting dark is why we came back was because she showed up over 30 minutes late to the date in the first place. So instead of being honest about this or clarifying it or correcting it at all, she then took the therapist's responses, amongst others, and then sent them to her friends and family members. Objectively speaking, this can be considered very problematic because she essentially gave an inaccurate statement to the therapist, which then elicits responses based on these false details. And then instead of correcting them, she uses them as authoritative proof that something happened to her that didn't actually happen. But all of this was under false pretenses from false information. And this was not cleared up and corrected until nearly 4 years later at trial.
Jeez Louise.
Perfect.
At Sligoys the Sauce 2911 donated $19.99. Had a girl from my past call out of the blue. She was getting evicted. Cute as hell, but I won't do it. She threw herself at me, but I held the line. Don't know where she ended up.
Huh. Well, thanks for the 20, brother. They always bust out the shell, the clammy, when they need something. Isn't that how it works, eh?
In 2024.
By the way, the Juul trolls. I had to put a minimum on the Juuls. I don't know what the fuck one Juul costs, but you're spamming 10 like it's 10 cents. So we had to raise that up.
At that point, all these communications and the eventual false accusation had already happened. The damage had already been done because amongst all of the other inaccurate statements made to the therapist, this completely colored the therapist's perception of what actually happened, leading to her convincing the accuser, I was a skilled predator, I've done this to multiple people, amongst other things, such as she's not the first, as somebody that's never met me and knows absolutely nothing about me, to intentionally put out false information to someone and then take what they said in response and use that as an authoritative source to influence friends and family. And this is just a small taste. I highly recommend you go through the April 18th testimony. Everything's in there and it is shocking. Okay, moving on. Next, when giving her original statements to the police, she said that oral sex lasted 5 to 10 minutes, but also that the consent video incident happened about 1 minute into the oral sex, and then our brief conversation about it was approximately 1 minute long. So this timeline would imply that oral sex resumed afterwards to fill up the remaining 3 to 8 minutes.
At Sligoys the Sauce 2911 donated $9.99. I wasn't putting myself in that position in this day and age. And it's sad, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it could have ended one of two ways. You either would have gotten laid for no work, basically, or she could have then leveraged you sleeping with her to then blackmail you into just permanently being able to stay somewhere. So it's like, how thirsty are you?
Trial.
You're good, brother.
On April 12th, she said that after the consent video, she immediately stood up and successfully put her clothes on and claimed that she tried to leave. But then, during cross-examination on April 17th, she acknowledged there could have been more time for oral sex, and it was possible that it continued. My lawyer, okay, but then you'll also agree with me that even after he put his phone away, that you continue to engage with him in oral sex. Accuser, I don't remember. Lawyer, okay, well, let's talk about timing here because you said the oral sex lasts between 5 and 10 minutes, right? Accuser, yes. And the incident with the phone happened about a minute or two into the oral sex, right? Accuser, yes. So therefore, there was more time for oral sex. Accuser, there could have been. Lawyer, okay, it's possible that it continued, right? Accuser, it's possible. I'm not even going to say my version of events, okay? This is her version versus her own version. This completely contradicts her other version of events about getting up, putting her clothes on, and then trying to leave. From the appeal. In chief, April 12th, the accuser testified that once Mr. Densmore took out his phone, she stood up, starting to put her shirt on, looking for her purse. Remember the purse for later. On April 17th, when trial counsel asked the accuser whether she continued to engage with him in oral sex, after his phone was put away, she claimed that she did not remember, in addition to there could have been time. Upon further questioning on April 18th, the accuser conceded that it was possible that she performed additional fellatio following the phone incident. This is a massive contradiction because if oral sex continued, which is what actually happened, that would mean all of the things she said about getting up, putting her clothes on, and trying to leave was completely fabricated. Look at the transcripts. Moving on. There was further conflicting evidence in regards to her retrieving and putting her shirt on. This is from April 18th, after my lawyer has been asking her about when we had sex. And then I asked where the bathroom was and left the room. Why would you need to ask for the washroom? He's already showed you where it was before he got to his room. Accuser, he did. I guess that was my way of telling him I needed to use the washroom. A little further down. So you'll agree with me that according to you, those are the first words spoken by you or him since you had that little exchange about the phone, correct? Accuser, I believe that he did say something when I was putting on my shirt. Remember that. I don't remember what it was, but I remember kind of awkwardly laughing. My lawyer, okay, so now you remember that, right? But you didn't remember it before. Accuser, I don't remember what he said. I remember not responding to him talking though. Lawyer, well, you did. You said you laughed. Accuser, yes. Lawyer, so that was a response, right? Accuser, okay, yes. So aside from the earlier statements about total silence, which we've gone over, the inaccuracy here is in her earlier version of events, she claimed to have stopped oral sex, stood up, and already had put her shirt on. From April 12th, accuser, I'm still sitting down, but when he went to go put his phone down, he had kind of removed or stopped standing directly in front of me with his feet on both my sides. So I kind of had a way to stand up and create distance between us. So I did that. And then I started putting my shirt back on, looking for my purse. My lawyer, did you indeed put your clothes back on? Accuser, I did. But here on April 18th, aside from the different story about the oral continuing, there was also a major discrepancy that actually shows even more credibility towards the oral actually continuing, which is what actually happened. Because after penetrative sex had completed, she claimed, I believe that he did say something when I was putting on my shirt. But why would you put your shirt back on if it's already on? If you got up after oral, like you said in your original statements on April 12th, then your shirt would have already been on. Question, did you leave the bedroom? Accuser, no. He came up to me, started kissing me, put his fingers inside of me again, and then kind of quickly pushed me onto the bed so my stomach was on the bed, and then he lifted my dress up and put his penis in me. In this version, she had already put her shirt and clothes fully back on. There was no shirt removal, but then I came over and forced her on the bed and penetrated her. So on April 12th, the shirt is already on for the penetration. After getting dressed and trying to leave on April 18th, in addition to the oral continuing, the shirt was only put on after the penetrative sex, while awkwardly laughing about something I said. So if you were telling the truth about getting up and putting your shirt back on after oral, then the shirt would already be on. These are just a few of the inconsistencies between her statement to the police, her testimony, and her cross-examination. There were many, many more. If I included them all in this video, it would be several hours long. These inconsistencies, inaccuracies, whatever you'd like to call them, are not in comparison to my statements or testimony. All of these things are her word versus her own word. These are not even taking into consideration my testimony, where I disagree with basically everything she's claiming. Even being as polite as possible, there is an alarming pattern of changing stories, contradicting, and even fabricating physical evidence to depict an aggressive encounter that simply didn't happen. There are dozens of instances from this person that clearly lower their credibility, or to be blunt, outright disqualify their credibility. And to put it simply, that is what reasonable doubt is. What started as a concern.
It says, I'm a Canadian male and I hate my government, but I hate arrogant American assholes even more. Bro, your own government, you don't need to worry about Americans. You'll go to prison just because a woman wants you to. Do you not hear what the fuck's going on in this video? This guy's worried about Americans down south and their ignorance and larger than life attitude. Buddy, Your country is raping you financially and legally. Worry about the ass or the dick in your ass by the crown who took your fucking freedom away. It's not an American doing anything to you. Americans can talk shit online. Your government is raping you.
About a potential video needed.
Bro, the goy will never get better, dude. It's fucking crazy. Is literally getting boned by his government. I hate America. Motherfucking Americans down south, sipping your fucking maple juice, on your fucking pancakes, your maple syrup. These goddamn Americans always talking shit about making us the 51st state, you're getting boned by your government. Nothing's going to happen for you people, huh? The infinite Indians are just going to keep coming, replacing you and your government. You're never going to ask for accountability of your government at the local level and national. You literally don't give a shit, huh? Turning into Canada-stan in real time, seriously. Literally, you have signs in Canada now that shows don't poop on the beach. Don't poop here in public, because third worlders have been invited in such numbers without any vetting whatsoever that you have Indians shitting in the streets in Canada, literally. In the fucking beaches, literally. Feces on beaches all over Canada. And this guy's worried about Americans. The Goy are not going to make it. Really, truly. Brother's like, I hate Americans even more. Dude, go to your local council and like demand some change and like show up every day and get the men around you to show up and go grow your numbers daily. I'm worried about Americans. Literal Indians just shitting next to you on the beach, just squatting down, ignoring the signs that were put up to tell them not to shit there. The Goy are not good, dude. Sometimes it feels helpless. It's like I'm an old man yelling in the wind. I'm like, hey, we need to do something. Hey, this is how you're being fucked. Hey, look at all these examples. Hey, you know, there's power in the people if we get together. Hey, let's do something. Do you want to be invaded by third worlders? Do you want the hard work of your forefathers just get shit on and their statues toppled and their governments taken over? Hey, do you want people here clearly have a cultural supremacy problem and clashing with ours, and they think theirs is better, even though they fled from their own shitholes? They want to turn ours into the shithole they fled from. Hey, shouldn't we band together and like do something? You know, hey, the liberals are kind of the ones causing this problem. Nah, bro, not at all. The Goy just completely ignore that, huh? They just go, you know, Americans, goddamn America, these Europeans. Americans do the same shit with Europeans. Fuck Europeans. Fuck them Europeans. They're not real assets. They're not our brothers. I'd rather be invaded from the south, and I'd rather invite millions of H-1B Indians and millions of Chinese students. Fuck yeah, my government loves me. It's like, you gonna wake up, dude? We're kin here. Do you understand? You are European. All of you. All of you descend from Europeans from the motherland. You may have came from a different corner of it, but we're all in this together. We're all the same. Will the Goy wake up? Do you understand that we're one tribe? Yes, different little flavors within the tribe, but we're all being invaded all at once. You don't find that funny? A little strange? How coordinated this all is? Huh? Doesn't that kind of pique your interest? Like, why is this only going on here? Because China's not dealing with this problem. India doesn't deal with this problem. Matter of fact, you cross India's border, you go to prison for 10 years. You cross our border, we hand you money and taxpayer dollars and put you in hotels and give you food and welfare that you have no business taking. When are you going to wake the fuck up? This shit blows me away, bro. Hey, just like that barbecue story, they're going to go to their restaurants, Football is on, basketball's on, whatever fucking goy ball is playing. Can't you just let me live? I already work really hard. If I want to enjoy a fucking beer, I'll go enjoy a goddamn beer. Who are you to tell me what to do and what to think? Enjoy dying broke. Enjoy dying being overrun by third worlders. Enjoy having your daughters raped and getting stabbed and shot up in the street and not being able to leave the keys in your car or your door unlocked. Enjoy the slow, steady decline of the West as it's being taken from you, you fucking idiots. Holy shit, bro. It's like a culling of weak whites needs to happen or something. I don't know. It's like nature's reorienting itself because these libbies all make themselves extinct and the only ones that are going to be left. What is this, like nature's way of washing down the retardedness? It's like they will eventually breed themselves out of existence. And what is left? The strong ones among us that make and institute the hard choices, the change that needs to happen. Because Jesus Christ, what the fuck is going on with the rest of you? Well, I don't see nothing. Yeah, we are all living together peacefully. Get stabbed in the neck on the subway. Oh, totally, bro. It's all good. It's all fine. Hey, a sign on my beach appears showing a man squatting, taking a shit with a red X on it. Like, hey, we have to tell people not to shit on the beach now. Whoa. That's wild. Society's great. Yeah, I love my diversity.
A description of a non-consensual, aggressive encounter in order to get a warrant to access my phone. And the accuser herself conceded during cross-examination that many points in her initial statement were not true. I stated this earlier, but it needs to be said again. The accuser was encouraged to go forward by her friends, family, and therapist. The issue, though, is that she told her therapist, as well as her friends and family, not what actually happened. Inaccurate information. And that became the narrative, that I was some kind of assailant. And amongst many other inaccurate statements and downright things that just didn't happen that were shared with the therapist is what led to the therapist encouraging her to go forward with charges. And there's a lot more on that I'm not going to get into in this video because I don't want to get myself in trouble, but it's crazy. Bottom line is, this encouragement was based on incomplete, inaccurate, and fabricated information. The pressure then accumulated substantially into several other motives. From the appeal. In the months following their encounter, the accuser faced extensive pressure from her friends, family, and therapist to press charges against Mr. Densmore. According to her therapist, Mr. Densmore was a predator who was skilled in making small changes to their plans until she was in his apartment and had likely done this before. The accuser received similar feedback from her friends, mother, and stepfather who, despite never meeting Mr. Densmore, their only idea about me, by the way, is my crazy YouTube videos. So you can imagine what that looked like.
Check this out, because someone's saying, who the fuck's pooping on the beaches? They think it's not a real thing. Look at this. This is what's going on in your country. Ontario Premier requests Wasaga Beach, or Wasaga, however you pronounce that, visitors to not poop in the sand. Doug Ford is asking beachgoers to kindly stop pooping in the sand at a popular Ontario summer destination. Okay, dude.
It's like, despite never meeting Mr.
I hate Americans and their larger-than-life attitude. There are people from another country currently in yours, Canada, man, shitting in your beach sand, which you go lay in for a tan.
Densmore told her that she needed to press charges against Jack because otherwise she was letting him do that to other girls. This pressure culminated in the accuser admitting to feeling guilty that if she didn't take any legal type of action, she would be responsible for him doing this to other girls.
Wow.
Cross-examination of the accuser, trial transcript, April 2024.
We've seen enough of this. If you want to watch the full video, I'll link it in the description later. He's doing 3 years in prison, I think, if we skip to that part. Let's see.
And that's not even talking about lost revenue from my channel's being terminated. They literally cut off my income. That is so fucked up. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to take down my Instagram, which is another reason I avoided posting about this. Because if I talk about this,
At Slugoisthisauce 2911 donated $19.99. It's
you,
amazing
bro.
how much discourse with liberals is them pretending not to understand you, thus making discourse impossible.
Yeah, that's how they do the arguments. They pretend they don't know. What, dude? You can't. The statistics officially say the statistics from the government, and it's like you read real statistics. You show them actual statistics from like .org, and when it's not in their favor, then it's propaganda. What do you mean? Is it culture? Is it race? What? You mean some people behave a certain way? What? You can't believe that. We're all the same. Like, can a man become a woman? Yeah. Just cut your dick off magically. You're a woman now. Fucking hell, dude. Makes
being circulated online, and then that became something completely to have my life back. I want to end by saying thank you to those that do share your stories, whether you're a victim of assault or a victim.
Fuck, brutal, bro. He's doing 3 years prison. Ridiculous. All right. Moving on. Another one. The dreams of an entire generation stolen by a few. Interesting. Ontario Premier requests visitors not shit in the streets, bro. Hey, why is that happening, liberals? Why do we need the Premier to tell people to stop shitting in the fucking beaches? It's like, it was never a problem before, right? And then we had immigrants come over, and then now it's a problem. No, it's not. It's like the white man, the white man. It's the white man. That's like a liberal's default. The white man did it. Hey, there's people shitting in the streets. The white man. You can't argue with these people because they're so far up their own asses with absolute communist propaganda. They refuse to see the reality around them. Until they love to get stabbed to death, raped to death, murdered, beheaded by all these fucking crazy people coming in these countries. Why? Because they die martyrs, right? At least I died not being racist. I totally didn't look at that menacing looking third worlder with a knife in his hands as a threat. That's just cultural difference. They just like knives. Proceeds to get sliced and diced into a million pieces. All right. I didn't die a racist. I'm a martyr. Fucking morons, dude. Unreal. Oh, there was one that's like started my radicalization on this stuff. It was a dude, a white guy. He was like a liberal cuck or some shit. No, the woman he was with was a massive liberal cuck. Yeah. She was mega liberal, feminazi, man-hating. She was with this absolute cuck of a man. They were walking down the street at night. There's this like homeless black dude, whatever. And he ends up stabbing the guy. I don't know if you guys seen that video. And so this like homeless black dude, obviously he's mentally and all this other shit, like stabs the fuck out of this guy, kills his ass, right? He's over there. The white guy's just laying in the street, bleeding to death on the sidewalk. Zero reaction from the white woman. She was just like, she just seen it happen. You know the video? You guys have seen the video, right? Just saw that shit happen. And like, dude is just keeling over, bleeding out to death. And like that deranged homeless dude is just like walking back and forth. I don't even remember if he was like screaming at the woman or not. He completely ignores her. Walks away after killing the dude. And the woman has like zero fucking reaction. Nothing, bro. No screaming. No, oh my God. No survival instincts. No drama. Nothing. The cuck dies. Literally got cucked out of his life. Dead. And the white woman, like, I don't know if it was shock or whatever. She was just like, bent down, looked at him. She's like, huh. He got stabbed, I guess. And then like, nothing happens. No, like, compressing his chest, stop bleeding. Nothing, bro. She's not attempting to save his life. Nothing. She's just like the deranged dude's like yelling in her face, screaming, whatever. And she's just like, calm down. I know you're black. I know systemic oppression, bro. Yeah. listen, you had to do it. He was white man. He was the white man. I get it. And the liberal cuck advocating for policies against his own fucking survival ends up losing his life. Awesome. That video was fucking crazy. And there's so many like that. Like I said, is that weakness leaving the gene pool? Right? Is this the natural order of things? Is this what needs to happen? Like them being crushed under their own hypocrisy, their own ideology. It's like dwindling the numbers of the herd, right? Is it just naturally happening? Christ. You know what's funny with all these policies? I was thinking about this shit the other day too. I love how these liberals always talk a big game about equality and all that shit, but they're only down for equality and diversity in our neighborhoods, not theirs. Because God forbid you bring a little bit of these immigrants into Martha's Vineyard and they got bussed out the next fucking day. You guys remember when that shit happened? In Martha's Vineyard, they had like 2-3 immigrants. They just randomly, someone dumped them over there with the bus and they're like, fucking DEFCON 9. We gotta get these motherfuckers out of here. And then immediately called an armada of cops to just take like 4 or 5 immigrants out and bust them out of Martha's Vineyard. Bro, immediately. That shit's funny. Just saying. If they don't want them, why are they voting for them in your community? I don't know. Makes perfect sense when you think about the more darker aspects to it. They want to destroy you. They hate you. They hate you. Literally, they hate you. They think you're breathing their air and they want you gone. Yeah, Greg Abbott bust them there. Yep, I remember that. Texas was busing these people all over into these Democrat cities, and the Democrat cities were like collapsing under the weight of the hypocrisy. They're like, we can't take all these. There's too many people, our infrastructure. And Texas was like, yeah, that's the same shit we've been saying. So you have them then, because you're voting for the policies that lets them come across the border. And then they bust just one bus to Martha's Vineyard, and they're like, oh, hell no, get these goddamn colored people out of here. All of a sudden, they were more racist than the most racist Southerner. The liberals, freaking out. I don't know what the fuck's going on in Martha's Vineyard. It's turned into a shithole. All these goddamn coloreds. Get them out of here. Wow, so welcoming, libs. So diverse. Not in my backyard, huh?
Hey, what's going on?
So, that shit, it just exposed the hypocrisy beautifully. The only times they want minorities around them is when they're working under them, subservient, like slaves. Hey, Juan, cut my grass. Go trim my hedges. Hey, Juanita, go babysit. Go clean. Wipe the dust off this shit. Yeah. It's funny, huh, how that works. Anyways, moving on. The dreams of an entire generation stolen by a few. It's a small channel. Deaf Life. Let's see.
On YouTube. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. So in today's video, I wanted to talk to you guys about how they printed away the dreams of an entire generation. The United States, just a few decades ago, was the beacon of light around the world where everybody looked to America. It was the place where you could achieve your dreams.
Oh no, we got a cope. Look. We got colored cope in the comments. I love it. You could be talking about apples. Bo's racist ass will find a way to bash a non-white race. Stop coping, bro. Listen, be proud of where you're from. I'm talking about me and my people. You could worry about whatever you're coping for over there. I saw another cope email. Some dude sent me something. He's like a mulatto or something. A mixed race. And an entire novella he writes to me. I read the first half because I couldn't believe the amount of cope. Yeah, he's never talking about when I'm bashing white people. But that's fine. We hurt his feelings. And this guy was coping the entire time. Why do you call us mystery meat? Like, I'm one of the mixed people that watches your channel, and like, you know, every time you say about, you know, the video on interracial marriages, like, you know, my parents had one of those, and you're right, I had like identity issues growing up and I never belonged, and now I'm like coping hard in your fucking email, writing you novellas, telling you about how the cope and how you're dealing with it. Like, brother, I don't care. You're mystery meat. Own it. Cool. Great. Tell yourself whatever you need to tell yourself. I don't want my kids to not look like me. That's what I'm saying. Many others also don't want their kids to look like something else. What is all this cope? Oh, listen. And then I got these other guys coping too at the same time. I'm in a mixed relationship and it's great. I'd never date one of my own women. I don't care, bro. That's your life. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm just telling men that are single looking for people to date women. It would be easier if you could find one from your own culture. Not everybody gets to, but it is objectively, better to find a woman from your culture that's of the same race. Easy to blend, the mesh. It's perfect, effortless merging of two people. If you don't want to do that, then don't do that. That's fine. There's so much fucking cope. You don't have to cope to me, guys. I don't care. You don't have to cope. It's fine. Listen, we don't have to agree 100% on everything. It's great. That's it. I like my life the way it is, and I share it and have my own opinions. And you give and you take which ones you want, and that's it. If you don't like some opinions, that's fine, dude. Hey, different strokes for different folks. We were raised under different circumstances, different, childhood pressures, financial pressures, societal pressures. And do you, boo-boo, just like I've been telling you the entire time. Don't just listen, verify by yourself. I told you, go overseas, this is what it's going to be like. Go do it for yourself. Don't just listen to me. I just shared my experience. This is what I saw. This is what you probably should do. This is what worked for me. This is what might work for you. Go and look. Go and see. Just saying. Stop coping on my emails. I just want video recommendations. Don't cope to me entire novellas about how you feel a certain way because one video set you off, bro. Calm your titties. Calm your tits, okay? You're a little feminine. I'm not trying to read that shit.
The American dream, where it was a place of opportunity and a place where if you worked hard, no matter what age, sex, race, anybody here could reach the American dream. You could buy a home and you could raise a family here. But that dream is now just a dream, unachievable for so many people that live here. And we all know by now that the cost of living crisis and inflation is surging because of money printing. Milton Friedman, a Nobel Prize winning economist, somebody who I admire, somebody who I looked up to growing up. I read all of his stuff about classical economics. He stated that inflation is a monetary phenomenon caused by excessive money printing. And he knew this decades ago, that this was going to happen. And when the Federal Reserve Bank was created in 1913, the money supply at that time, the money in circulation, the total M2 money supply was around 20 billion US dollars. And in just in 113 years, 2026, the M2 money supply is around $24 trillion. They've printed over 110,000%. And just in the last 5 years, in 2020, during the pandemic, they printed 20% of the money supply, around $3.4 trillion dollars, just in those 5 years.
That was ever printed was during COVID. And everybody who was, even slightly financially literate was screaming from the rooftops that this is going to cause massive inflation. And sure enough, massive inflation came after the 20% of the printing. And all assets started inflating dramatically in a low interest environment, no less. So you're printing a ton of money and interest levels are at absolute lows, historical lows. And all of a sudden, housing explodes, crypto explodes, stock market explodes. So basically, just churn out dollars, get rid of them as quick as you can, buy assets. So that's what the rich people did. The rich people that have the billions, the hundreds of millions of dollars, they have to buy assets because the dollar is depreciating. And they have access to low interest rate loans and they borrow then against their assets also. in order to acquire more and more assets. So that is why a majority of the wealth from COVID actually concentrated up. That's why they said it was the largest upward transfer of wealth in human history, because the rich ended up taking the lion's share of the gains by nature of having more capital to deploy to assets. So, and poor people don't understand this. We're still getting boned by this all the time. All of us regular people here don't understand that the money printing is a function of monetary control. Interest rates are actually controlled by, and they like to say they can't, but the boom bust cycles are engineered. The moment we stopped backing the currency by gold and other hard assets and just instituted the petrodollars, like the final nail in the coffin. Of course, 1913 is where it all started. That was the beginning of the end of financial dominance by the proletariat, by the working man. Because, and I used to read about this stuff too, dignitaries, royals, and other high up Europeans would come visit America in like before 1913. And they were shocked at the opulence, at the wealth, at the economic engine of America. Europe was already like decrepit and poor in comparison. Can you imagine being a dignitary of some sort from Europe, traveling all the way up to America and seeing what New York looked like, what San Francisco looked like, and shit like that? The amount of wealth that existed in America, it was titanic in comparison to what Europe was able to produce. Because the system America had was for the people. And then the private banking got instituted, which the founders were not a fan of. Well, most of the founders. Some were arguing for centralized banking, but that was more for like national defense and being able to raise funds for an army and shit like that. But it spiraled out of control when the private bank was formed, when a boat, a massive boat, ended up sinking with a ton of people that were on it that were actually arguing against a central bank. That's kind of weird. People don't know about that part. And once the central bank got instituted and you control the money supply, now you can engineer boom-bust cycles. Now you can inflate the currency. Now you can control borrowing, usury, interest rate. You can have an effect on all of it. Yeah. You see, a lot of people don't know that the very people that were trying to prevent the central bank from being formed died on the Titanic randomly. You know, it just randomly hit an iceberg, randomly, with some of the most influential people in the world at the time on the Titanic.
And that's why we're seeing the price of everything explode. I don't care what they tell you. You know, they're telling us that, you know, it's a supply shock, supply chain disruptions. And yes, that does have a little bit to do with it. But the main cause of all this inflation we're seeing is because of money being printed.
Yeah, and once you grow up, you start to realize just how dirty the world is. Like, it's an illusion. We live in a mirage, man. It's like we're listening to somebody, they're talking about the cave, Plato's allegory of the cave, and that's what it is. The society that's set up in front of us is a giant illusion. And the people that control everything, they just show us what we perceive to be true. And you're living in a false reality already. I think one of the major cracks in the false reality was the Epstein files. The Epstein files showed how the elite move, how they live beyond laws, how they are connected so deeply to one another, and the impact they each have with one another, the influence, the major influence that they hold amongst multiple countries. Because the people at the top that write the rules are just people. So if the guy at the top here and there and in 6 other countries all go to a dinner or a festival or a ball or engage in the same depravity, well, we could all agree to run our countries in very similar fashions. And then we get to lean on our other friends that are the judges that are corrupt, that are, you know, mid-level appellate courts, Supreme Courts, local courts, doesn't matter, from mayors to senators to congressmen to whatever, up the chain. We're all in the same shit. So there's no resistance, right, when we want change. truly for the elite. Look at how BlackRock, through Larry Fink, was able to institute ESG for corporations. At one point, it was so pervasive that it led to a populist right uprising that birthed Trump. The ESG messaging, the trans messaging, the LGBT messaging, rainbow flags everywhere, flying all over the country above the American flag, above the flag of many Western nations. Every company was just placating to the 0.1% of society. Yeah. Oh, thanks for the 3,000 joules, brother. Appreciate you. I don't even know what that is. But thank you.
And so after work, after a long 12-hour shift, I hate to admit this, but I eat either at Chipotle or Panda Express every single day. I know it's not good for you. I know I'm going to get a lot of, flack for it, but a couple days ago, I decided to eat there because I hadn't eaten anything. It's hard to eat while you're working as a truck driver. So I was eating there and I was sitting close next to the counter. And I noticed that every 5 minutes, and it was around dinner time, I got off around 6, somebody would come up to the counter, saying, hey, I'm a gig worker or Uber Eats, and they would show them the phone, and then the person would ask them, okay, what's the customer's, the last 4 digits of their phone number? So that's how I knew it was an Uber Eats driver or Grubhub, I think it's called. And every 5 minutes, somebody would walk up to the counter and pick up an order for somebody. And the first 2 people I saw come in to pick up an order, I really didn't think much of it because they were young, probably teenagers, young 20-year-olds. And I just thought to myself, they're just working, doing this on the side to make some money.
Chipotle is nice. I like Chipotle.
But what shocked me was the amount of older people that are doing this right now. There was the third person I saw, he looked around, maybe around 60 years old. He had all gray hair and he had a bald spot. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. He must, be going through some unfortunate circumstances. And then I kept on eating, and another 5 minutes goes by, and another Uber driver comes in, and he's also an older gentleman, maybe around 60, 65 years old, all gray hair. And then he picks up the food and leaves. And then I noticed another person come by. The next person is also, a lot older. Maybe she was in her 50s. She was an African American woman, limping. She was pretty heavy set. And she was limping to the counter, and I just thought to myself, what in the world is going on? Why are there so many these older Americans doing Uber Eats and doing this type of gig work? And it just occurred to me that the cost of living crisis right now has gotten so bad for a lot of Americans. We all know that the average American lives paycheck to paycheck, and these Americans are having to work doing this type of gig work just to go by. People with multiple jobs, people that are working part-time jobs and multiple part-time jobs, it is at its record high, and I could see it right now. And next time you guys go out to eat at these, kind of fast food joints, pay attention to what's going on. And the average Social Security check that an American receives right now is around $2,000. There's a month. There's no way you can live off of $2,000 a month, especially if you live in a high cost of living area like Washington or California. Maybe you can if you live in somewhere in the Midwest in a very...
Yeah, it's crazy, right? This is just a symptom of the degradation of society. Seeing old people deliver pizza. That used to be is a job you did in high school. That was like your entry job. They used to be the young guys in high school. They're always up to no good, smoking weed, chilling, whatever the fuck. That was like your quintessential pizza guy, always delivering the pizza and shit at all hours of the night and day. Now it's like your grandma. How bad is it if the old people that put in an entire generation worth of work into the system are still forced to deliver pizza. Fucking hell.
Very rural area, but you know, these older people, you know, they deserve to travel and spend their remaining 10 or so years with the people that they love and create lasting memories during that time. And because of all this money printing, that's taken.
What is this trophy stuff, boys? Let me turn the sounds on for that. What is that? I'll turn the sounds on for these at 1,000 and up. Okay, how about that? Fine. They want sound, and we'll do the image. Okay. And an audio. What's the audio file? Let's add something here in the middle of the stream. We have the perfect sound. There you go.
Perfect.
Done. Okay, there you go. 1,000 joules and up will fire now with perfect, so I can see it. Thank you. I have no idea what the joules are. I got to code that in my app. You guys want to see what my hero landing page is going to look like? I think I had that fully designed finally. I just got to show it to the homies. I believe if I do screen, it pops up. Oh, that's not it. That's the Zoom chats. Actually, we'll do screen. That works. Let's select a different screen here. Oh no, we could just put it here on the... No, we can't. Okay, hold on. We're figuring this out. I have to select this other screen. Which one is it? Quarter. There we go. Coolio. So check this out. Let me drag it all the way over. All right, you guys could hear me here in the background. Dope. How does this one look? There we go. So this is going to be, you know, the hero. It's called the hero page. It's like when you're signing up for the product, you know, the little website. I finally had the completed design. This is what it's going to look like. So we're working on this. This is honestly the part that takes the longest because it's actually a pain in the ass to get the design right and the effects and all that shit. The coding side is not good enough at this just yet. But that's what it's going to look like. So it's essentially what the app is, among some other things added in there. But yeah, you're going to be able to, if you want to stream, plug in all of these and control all your alerts just the way you see how I do and have a unified chat. And once I'm done with this app, I'm going to be building out the second one I have for the idea. And now that I know how to run shit in parallel, it'll be much faster. So here you go. You guys are seeing what this app looks like right here. This is the unified chat on the left that you guys are seeing. And here's the system I'm building out. Look at the dashboard. I'll show you what the dashboard currently looks like. I, the knuckle dragger, built this. So this is what I want you guys to understand. How the fuck? Hold on. I can't grab the edges. So peep this. This is what I have on the side of my monitor. So when you guys are firing off alerts, they go right here. Right, this is what it looks like. I have session analytics right here. I could see everything about the session. I built this into the app, like the viewership, the amount of comments, you know, how long we've been going at it for, revenue counting, all that good stuff, right? Viewership across the platforms when they're connected. And yeah, the total chats right here are being counted. Here's what's current for the session on YouTube, $69.57. I don't know, it didn't count the joules, so I don't know how the joules work. You know, we're still working on that. Let's see, revenue, still got to fix that. And then you have up here the amount of chats that came in from each dashboard. And I want to say, oh yeah, here's the little session breakdown. Let me make it bigger. This little session breakdown right here, it shows you what we're connected to below, but 69 bucks have come from YouTube specifically. So if somebody were to donate on Twitch or on Rumble or on Kick, this starts to fill up and you're seeing everything, essentially. Here's the subs when they come on. Here's all the alert history from people that have donated in the past, and you can fire these manually.
Etzligoisthesauce 2911 donated $19.99. It's amazing how much discourse with liberals is them pretending not to understand you, thus making discourse impossible.
You could skip it. You can turn it on to be automatic with a delay timer off. Guys, I'm a knuckle dragger, and I had this shit built and still working on a bunch of options here. Look at all this stuff. We're going to have custom overlays for people. The way you can change, information on alerts, text to speech. You could pick from a bunch of voices, speed up the pitch, the rate, the volume, the way you want the donations to show up. So much crap is going into this. And someone just sent 5. Look, and you're right here, brother. Look. And then I hit a button, my finger here, because I could fire this like that, or I could press directly on my Stream Deck, play.
At Novesnock 17 donated $5. Try test.
Voila. How cool is that? And look, the counter just updated properly. And there you go. When I say you can build anything with the system I have set up in the private community, I mean it, dude. I'm not a coder. I don't know what I'm doing coding-wise at all. I just have a vision for what I need, the problem I'm solving, and it's all here. Look at all this. It's all here. It's all here realized. Look at all this shit. What's the settings show? Boom. Here's my account. We have the subscription set up, working, right? For my Tribe of Men at Yahoo, I subscribe to the Stripe account. I can manage my subscription and cancel it. So I'm already connected to Stripe. It live fires today at midnight, and it unlocks, the rest of the app, whatever. I'm on version 3.72. My little roadmap, all of this stuff, dude. I'm doing this in the background also while streaming, while all of this stuff. My agents are running autonomously for hours at a time, coding up all this shit. Codex and GPT 5.5 did the entire analytics dashboard in like 3 hours, all of these. This is just the rough edges of what you're seeing, right? I haven't even verified all of this stuff yet and checked how it looks. This session and how it looks compared to streaming tomorrow and what everything looks like. I'm seeing this for the first time today. This is a brand new build. I don't even know what all of these are. I have to check all this. Growth charts and, supporters, how shit's working. All of this, I have to watch this stuff and compare and beta test and all that. It's so cool, dude. That's my app. I called it Conduit. So that's the name I gave it. Conduit, because from the picture that you saw, it intakes many sources and outputs one, which is what the entire idea of this is. That's it. Ta-da. Just so you guys can see what this looks like in practice. I'm not just saying get on the community and dick around and do nothing. I'm like, here's how this works, dude. Here's a real workflow. Here's how you really can build quite literally any idea you have and make it a thing in the real world. Because I'm doing it. Because I'm solving my own problem. Because I'm also an idiot. I'm not a coder. I don't pretend to know what I'm doing. I have a problem that I can make the AI system, the chat system, solve for me. What has been the hardest part about doing the app? I guess there's been multiple different parts, but I've solved every issue. The hardest part is just getting started, to be completely honest, and allowing yourself to make mistakes and iterating along the way. That's the hardest part. I don't have any technical knowledge, so when I run into problem or any problem whatsoever, I have to figure out on the fly, how would I solve this? And then I talk with my bot and I go, how do we solve this problem? And then I ask them as if he was an engineer, how to solve it and prompt the coding side properly. Bam. If you would have told me a few months ago before I touched any of this stuff this deeply, I would have told you, I'm not a coder, bro. I'm not into coding. I don't know shit about coding. I could maybe ask ChatGPT to make a basic, here's a finance tracker kind of app or some shit like that. But coding up this kind of complicated app with APIs and OAuth authentication and, you know, all of these things that are like, what's that mean? What's this? Linking Stripe, developing a database. I have Supabase. I have Railway set up to deploy all of this shit. The whole pipeline has been tested end to end. So fucking cool. I'm a knuckle dragger. I used to fucking cement Macs. That's all I did. Yeah, I'm a full stack developer at this point because it's a real SaaS product that's being released. Truly.
At Novusnock17 donated $2. Mindset. Thanks, brother. Flexed bicep.
Yeah. Dude, we were having this conversation in the private community. Look, I'll put it back up on the screen. We're having this, Pip, where is this at? We're having a conversation in the private community about this very thing. We're going off a mean tangent, but this is important because this is how you free yourself financially. I constantly talk about this shit because I am in shock myself, in absolute wonder about what's possible. So let me make sure. Actually, let me check something. Okay. Yeah, okay. If I didn't experience this shit myself, I wouldn't believe it. But I've already had a ton of naysayers, and they're saying you can't develop. Look, I even compressed the little K. It's up here at the top, and it brings up my app information right here. Oh, it's only on my right dashboard. You can't see it. These set little things like this. Look, settings right here. Look how beautiful and crisp all of this comes up. All of this can be done and developed by you. Look, it's beautiful. I could see my Kick chat only if I want. I could see my YouTube chat only if I want. Only on Twitch if I want. On Rumble if I want. You see? Or everyone. I can send a message to all the connected platforms automatically. This stuff can be done by anybody because I'm doing it. Look, I have on YouTube my API keys, everything set up, and it's actively tracking how much of my API I've used. API keys, just so it can pull all this information. All of this seems impossible for a non-technical person because I'm non-technical. And this would have been impossible for me just a few months ago. And the tech is getting even better. So your ideas, as complex as they may be, it can be brought to real life right now with just a simple workflow. And I gave the guys in the community that workflow, and they're starting to develop some crazy looking shit. It's allowing people to build out their dreams and escape the exact trap this guy here was talking about. The infinite printing of the money, the jobs disappearing, the you ending up 65 being the door greeter at Costco. You put in years of work at a company to be rewarded by getting fired. You can do anything. And for me, it doesn't matter. I'm going to make a bunch of these. I can quite literally develop a million. I don't care if this one fails or not. This is already saving me $50-$60 a month myself for all the shit I've been paying for streaming wise. So I solved my own problem. And then I was like, cool, let's just make it into a real product and see what happens. Great. I learned so much that my next one, I'm going in with a full understanding of what I need. And if that one fails, then I'm off to another idea. Eventually, one will succeed. Eventually, one's going to hit. This is the mentality you have to have. I'm not fail. If this app launches when it does, and I get 2 people signed up forever, it's not a failure. The amount of information and knowledge I've acquired in the last 2 months is worth thousands of dollars. That's going to go into my next idea. My next idea will be organized much better with much less mistakes, much faster. And eventually I'm going to have one that hits.
At Novusnock17 donated $5. The title for the video doesn't make sense. You are not tired at all. LOL.
Yeah, I have Codex, and then below the terminal's open, and it's Claude Code also. So they're both running in tandem, parallel. And then I'm spawning more other versions of Claude in other trees or branches, excuse me, working on other parts of the code. Someone said, it's no bullshit. I just built my own app for arboriculture that does complete tree assessments. Works great. Yeah. So, super cool shit. But there's naysayers. And someone said earlier in the chat, don't listen to the naysayers. Dude, I don't know how to explain just how important it is that you do not listen to anybody else and just do your plan without telling people about it or asking what they think. We were talking about this in the private community. So many guys are trying to share this excitement of an idea they have with somebody, and that other person just gives them the shitty 2 cents that they have. Oh, I don't know if that'll work. Like, this sounds complicated. Are you sure? Fuck off, bro. Fuck all these people. Don't tell even your family none of this shit. It's your dream. Work on it. Why the fuck would you invite someone else's opinion on your idea or your dream? Do you believe in what you're fucking wanting to do or not? That's all this shit is. If I asked somebody earlier when I was just starting this, do you think I should just make my own unified chat so I'm able to stream without 10 different web pages open just to see everybody and what they're saying to me? Should I build my own app for that? I don't know. It's like, just use Streamlabs. What is $60 a month? Or, and I wouldn't have learned all of this shit. Wouldn't have had all this information, new knowledge, new ideas and opportunities are now available to me because I'm like, wow, if I could do all this, what else could I possibly do? And the answer is everything I dream of. I just have to work at it, and I'll keep learning, and I'll keep making mistakes. And at least I'm doing something. Who gives a fuck about the doomers, bro? Who gives a fuck about your family's opinions on anything? What the fuck does your parents or your friends or any coworker know about coding and your idea and the vision for your idea that you have? What do they know? Anything at all? Who the fuck asks anybody like that for opinions? Just saying, some of you guys hold yourself back immediately by asking for somebody else as if you're looking for acceptance. You need somebody to give you the wink and a nod. That's good. Yeah, good. Do that. We don't all have supportive people in our lives. Actually, a lot of us have nothing but fucking crabs in a bucket in our lives, even blood. Think I know any of this shit, dude? I was a fucking retard in college. I was busy smashing hoes and in dating culture and wishing I had the knowledge to make some of this shit come true. And now I'm spending all day coding inside like I'm one of these fucking computer nerds. Literally, I'm remoting into my terminal from my phone, even when I'm out and about and talking to Claude, chat side engineer, and I'm like, cool, we need to institute this. I just had an idea for this. And then I'm remote in my terminal with my phone. My fucking computer never turns off, and I'm copy pasting that. And my fucking agent's just firing live coding while I'm out shopping at Costco and shit. What, dude? That's insane. I come home to a new working feature and I just test it and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is crazy. How are not more people doing this? It blows me away.
Away from them. And I'm not sure what world the people, the statisticians, and the employees of the Bureau of Labor Statistics live in. And I don't know what world they live in. These are the people that compute the inflation figures every month, and they're telling us inflation is only 3.3%. Inflation is only at 3.3%. I mean, they have to know that that's not true. They have to know, because I know these people have families of their own. I'm sure they have a home. They go grocery shopping every day or get food to put on the table for their families, and they put gas in their vehicle. And they're seeing the price of gas go up 20 to 30%. It's the average gas price is now like $4.30 right now in our country. With the Iran situation, it's getting a lot worse. I think oil hit $120 a barrel. But they have to know that's not true when they're filling up their fuel tanks, and they're in the checkout line at the grocery store, and they're seeing their food bills go up by 10, 20%. How can they tell us it's only 3.3%? They have to know. And for everybody watching this video, the 9 to 5, working in corporate America, 9 to 5 is the biggest scam that's ever existed here in our country. You know, imagine working 9 to 5 for 40, 50 years. And
imagine staring down a life of forced to work 9 to 5 because you won't give, like the coding I said, a shot. Imagine that, bro. Imagine forcing yourself into poverty and mediocrity because you thought you weren't capable of learning something new. Literally, you told yourself, it's not worth it. You know, this new shit people are on, I don't know if I want to learn that. The same shit happened with people on the internet when the internet became a thing. I don't know about this internet shit, this email stuff. I don't know about buying shit on website. What is this website shit? You're doing it again. You're literally those people. It's crazy, man. What alternatives are there? Not learn something new, get left behind, or continue doing the only thing I know and further falling behind. Like, it's a guarantee I'm going to fall behind because these jobs don't pay enough for you to become free. They pay you just enough to keep you there. That's the trap.
You know, sitting at a desk or in corporate America, a job that you absolutely hate, and you trade in the best years of your life, your 20s and 30s, doing something that you don't like. And then by the time you retire after 40 or 50 years, you made it. You finally saved up, you know, a couple $1 million so that you can enjoy your retirement.
They always ask me about the Jim Beam shirt. I don't drink. The reason I have this shirt is because when I was bartending in college, a woman was coming by, a brand ambassador for Jim Beam, handing out shirts and trying to do deals with the local bar owners. And so my little wing bar, my sports bar I worked at, I got a free shirt. This shirt cost me $0. That's why I wear the shirt. Every time I tell the story, people are like, oh, wow, yeah. I wear a free shirt I've had since college. Still fits me just right. Great.
And then the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, some people were like, I don't like you wearing the Jim Beam shirt. You're just promoting alcohol. I'm like, no, dude. Actually, you have no idea what I'm promoting. I'm promoting a humble lifestyle where you save money. I'm not spending on buku amounts of dumb shit. I actually have a free shirt from college I'm wearing on a stream right now. And people are like, are you like alcohol? No, I like money in my pocket. And you should too.
100% of the money supply, and you lose 50% of your purchasing power. That is the biggest scam. You guys have to wake up to what's going on. And I remember when I first started driving, a gas per gallon was around 80 cents. It was early 2000s, and $100 would last me over a month. But now here in Washington, $100 of gas lasts me 1 week. It takes $90 to fill up my gas tank. So that's what I mean by the loss of purchasing power. And then, while I was sitting there eating, I started thinking about the younger two people that I saw that were driving for Uber Eats. And I just thought, man, their generation is even more screwed. They're cooked. Because had they been born in like the 1940s, 1950s, they just by driving Uber or being a shoe salesman or being a waiter, they could own a home. They could have a wife that stays home. They could afford 3 kids on just one little income. But now that is not possible. More and more college graduates that have good jobs, they're having to move back in home with their parents at record numbers right now.
He's tired, boss.
You can't just go to college and you're not guaranteed a job anymore. College graduate unemployment is at its all-time high right now. And anybody watching this video right now, also, you don't know unless you're a doctor or...
You know what's really interesting about the tired bros? So I have the little analytics here and I see the stream numbers, and we lost something like a little over 50 viewers on just when I started talking about the app and coding. The literal gold mine of this entire fucking stream. The rest is irrelevant. The literal gold mine that can change your life, that could get you motivated to do something different, which we're going to talk about in the private community because we have a call literally right now in the next hour coming up. That's the part they tune out on. It's like the goys love their slop. They love to watch people online complaining. They like to see only these videos. It's great in moderation, like all things. Like all things in moderation, it's beautiful, whatever. Do your work and then go watch some of the shit. And then they're online complaining that their life sucks, that money's not going far enough, they can't afford groceries. But whenever a little nugget of wisdom and information is shared, they tune it off and they go put on sports ball. They tune it out and then go do something. They're now watching these 50 people that left have tuned in some other live streamer doing a bunch of fuck all on some like 30-hour marathon, just sitting there listening to some jackass music and like, you know, them staring at a screen and responding once in a while to the chat. Like that's what they're doing. This is what the average person is doing. You just got shown something that most people aren't doing, coding. A knuckle dragger's doing it, showing you the app running live on stream and how it works. And they're like, yeah, gooning. They're off gooning. I ain't watching this shit. Let me go watch some fucking porn. Let me go jack one real quick. I'm stressed about my life. I got no money, no hoes, nothing. And this guy's talking about coding and shit. And fucking ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT to like talk to when I'm lonely. Brother, the goy are not okay, dude. The goy, the cattle, are okay being cattle and shepherded into destruction. Do you understand that? How do you save these people? They're goon maxing right now. Some of them are coming back. Like 16 of them came back. They're already done gooning. They have returned to the stream. They're done gooning within like 15 minutes. That's it. Are you back, guys? Welcome back. Huh? You had a good session there? You ready to watch more of this guy tell you about how your money is going less and less? Yeah? Are you ready to be angry together about how the economy is shit and you're being invaded and your dollar's being printed into destruction and your empire is falling apart and your Western way of life? Welcome back, dude. Was your gooning session great? Yeah, do you feel a little bit more relaxed? Some of the anxiety is gone now of your mediocre fucking existence and your boss tearing you a new asshole every day and not valuing you at work. Welcome back. I'm glad you're back to the stream. Another 13 just got back here. We're climbing back up to normal numbers. Welcome back to the other 13 that lasted another 5 minutes. Glad to have you. How was it? Yeah, did you find a good video or were you scrolling for a minute and then you gooned off for another 60 seconds? Was it 10, 15 minutes of trying to find a decent video where you're not zoomed in on a guy's balls? Not gay at all, right? Totally not. You're watching a guy's balls, essentially. His butthole was in view. You were gooning off, and right as you fucking nutted, it was a guy's asshole just full in view. Great, dude. Totally not gay at all. You feel better? Yeah, welcome back. Great.
Nurse or something in healthcare or something very specialized, nobody watching this video right now can say, I know for sure, especially if you're in the white collar realm, nobody watching this video can say, I know for sure I'll still have a job in 5 years. You know, with the advancement of AI, who knows where the tech industry is going to be at? Who knows if accountants are going to have jobs, or even if you're in finance? Nobody knows right now if they're going to have a job in 5 years. And AI is getting a lot better and better, and tech CEOs are, you know, their goal is to replace a lot of their workers to increase the bottom line. So a lot of those younger guys, they can't even own homes. Who's going to take out a 30-year mortgage at higher interest rates when you don't even know if you're going to have a job in the next 5 years. And so the younger generation, a lot of people are not getting married anymore. The birth rate is going down. Japan and South Korea, they're in crisis mode. If the birth rate doesn't go up, these countries could be extinct in the next 3 generations. And unfortunately, it's not like the Federal Reserve and these policymakers are going to look at the M2 money supply and look at inflation and say, oh man, so many Americans are struggling right now. Let's stop printing money. That's never going to happen. So think about in the next 30 years, think about when it's 2056, the price of everything. Do you think the prices are going to be going down? They're going to be double, triple what they are now. Gallon of gas, it's probably going to be maybe $15 a gallon in the next 30 years. I mean, and I'm not really, the only reason why it's going up is because of money printing and the loss of purchasing power. Think about it, a gallon.
And you reset all this with a great world war. Is he going to tell you that part?
Of gas, like I mentioned earlier, when I first started driving, it was 95 cents. A gallon of gas, if you look at the product, it's the same thing right now, 2026. It's the same identical thing, but it cost 5 times higher. In 30 years, gas is $5 right now. It could be $20 a gallon for the same exact thing, because they're going to continue to print money and the dollar is going to lose its purchasing power.
Yep, and the monetary system resets in every single way. It's always a reset. War and destruction. You have to wipe the debt clean somehow. Nothing wipes debt better than a world war. Did you know that? It's actually very great.
So who knows what the price of car is going to be? Maybe a home in 30 years, the average home price is going to be $1 million. It's almost $1 million here in Seattle.
Crazy.
And I want to leave on a positive note.
Here's the positive note. The draft is mandatory. Selective service is now automatic. They can't get enough people in the Army, so selective service is automatically enrolling you as a young man today. They're preparing for something. Conscription is now mandated in a bunch of European countries it wasn't before. The system doesn't have much more juice to keep going. It's on its last legs. I think those at the top have been knowing that. And have you noticed a bunch of small bits of flare-ups globally have been going on? Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, United States, Iran. What's the next one? And where do they all finally coalesce into one giant conflict? That's what we will end up calling World War III. And the entire debt of the Western world under American hegemony will be wiped clean. Will the capitalists win this time? Who wins this time? I don't know. Someone said, but who's going to be willing to fight in the war? That's the point. War has evolved in the modern world. In the modern world, war is now dependent on material production. The factories producing the drones, the loitering munitions, the AI-powered targeting systems. Soldiers get absolutely destroyed by kamikaze drones. And now they got robot dogs that are able to clear corners in buildings with fucking Gatling guns strapped to the fucking top of their backs. Just going through the corner, blasting everybody with AI-level precision. Yeah, the Terminators are coming. They're on their way. They're being tested right now, live in Ukraine. You actually don't need that many men anymore. It's just exhausting the opposition materially. That's what it is. You still need boots on the ground, obviously, to take, capture, and hold assets, land in general. But that comes at a cost materially. Once a nation is exhausted, well, then everybody's basically meat for the machines. That's it. And once that happens, the other side will eventually put up the white flag and sue for peace or get completely eliminated. Will we have massive wars that we had in World War II? Huge million man, armies and army groups, and the fronts are multiple millions of men. I don't know if we'll ever need those kinds of numbers, because everything has changed dramatically. Ukraine has showed that machines have augmented war in ways we couldn't have seen, that these drone operators are now like the superstars. One drone operator with a ton of drones, these optical cable connected drones, that those cables go for miles. One good guy like that can wipe out tons of operators in the area. Think about it. War is so different. War is much more asymmetrical now, too. It's leveled the playing field between nations, because look at the United States and Iran. We won't even send super carriers within the, quote, striking range of a lot of these drones. We'll have to keep them far back, right? Look at what's happening there. Some shitty drones that are costing $20,000 or less to produce, can be produced in high numbers, are such a nuisance, are causing such a problem that the world premier military is having issues subduing a nation just by bombing them to shit. We can't even produce enough of the smart weapons. We have to keep bombing them. We have to ration ourselves and our targets, because we've expended so much of what we were able to procure in the last couple of years. That's crazy. So a nation with some form of industrial capacity can just mass produce cheap weapons that could be guided into capital ships that cost billions of dollars to produce. Cheap munitions, cheap missiles, cheap drones. Crazy. It's a whole new world out there.
At GG6JZ donated $5. How do you force millions upon millions of grown men to fight? You can't possibly just jail that many at one time who refuse. How would you enforce it?
The same way the government's always enforced it. Jail, yeah. They'll have plenty of people to fight the war. That's not a problem. The penalty for a lot of men, will they go to jail? Who knows? Surely times are much different today. I mean, nobody wants to end up on X on some video of like a highlight of a drone operator, and the last thing you see, you're one of the slides where it's like your face, and then you get fucking blown up into pieces. You're just one of many. Yeah, people don't want to end up being that. But we still got plenty of men that are willing to fight. So they'll send them first, and then if it ever becomes dire and they need the draft, they will draft you. How many men will go to prison? I don't know, dude. That's interesting to think about. Hopefully we never get to that point, but history repeats, unfortunately. So we'll end it with this, and then I gotta get ready for the boys in the private community. This is one thing you will know: poor people will pay for it. Like all wars, it's the poor that'll pay for it the most. The poor are the ones that get screwed the most. The poor sons and fathers and the brothers are the first to get drafted and go to war. It's the poor's. You're never going to see Mr. Bone Spurs 6'8" Baron Trump go off into the front lines of any conflict whatsoever. Never. That'll never happen. You will. Your sons will. But these rich people that want these kinds of conflicts that won't end the bullshit that's going on around the world, theirs will never. Their progeny are safe. They make millions of dollars trading stocks, trading energy futures, trading millions and hundreds of millions in profit, generational wealth, completely isolated from all consequences. While you, the plebs, will be forced to fight and die and bleed for it. And you know what you get at the end of all this? They'll give you a beautiful memorial. They will give you a new burial site to remember the sacrifices of our brave, poor people we sent to die for something that could have been avoided. You'll get a nice tombstone, all white somewhere, thousands of them, along with everybody else that's sent to death. They'll call you a patriot. They'll call you a hero. Mm-hmm.
Ad GG6JZ donated $5. I'll just take jail. As long as I don't do or say anything stupid, I should survive jail, rather than die for Trump and a small country.
Yeah. Your name will be engraved in a stone amongst millions of names. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Says a woman who went to work for a social services department said she started out full liberal, but by the time she left the job, she came out a Republican. What happened?
Hey, let me tell you something. So when I used to work for the county in social services, I went in full Democrat, full liberal, and I came out Republican. Let's talk about it. I used to work in the social services department. So any public benefits, we're talking Medicaid, food stamps, cash aid, disability, unemployment, veteran service, housing. I did all the things, intake, applications, case maintenance, you name it. So when somebody who has a social security number like you and I apply for benefits through their social security numbers, I could tell, or any of the workers could tell using the social security number, whether somebody is working, whether somebody has money in their bank, whether they have property, cars, how much money they made that year through their taxes, whether they have additional income. However, here's the loophole. If somebody without a social security number, so somebody who's undocumented, applies for benefits, and they do qualify for benefits, by the way, they qualify for full Medicaid, housing, migrant head start, that's fully paid childcare. Not to mention that if these people have any kids that are U.S. citizens, meaning that they're born here, then they apply for benefits for their kids, and their kids being U.S. citizens qualify for all the benefits, all the services. So if you have an undocumented parent, meaning a parent that does not have a social security number, apply for benefits for their children, there's absolutely no way as a worker I could tell if they're making income, if they have any property, if they did taxes, how much money they made. There's just no way. We're talking $1,200 per kid plus $275 per person cash food stamps.
Wow.
That doesn't include housing, all the other benefits they get. And here in California, they don't even care. They don't even hide it. I used to have women and some men that would come in straight up with their nails did, their hair done, blonde, bleach blonde, Gucci bags, Gucci glasses, driving up on Escalades, chewing gum super loud, saying, "Where's my welfare check?" I used to live in a neighborhood where 70% of the people around me were undocumented, and man, did they live the life. New cars, parties every weekend. Oh yeah, and they also qualify for WIC. I forgot to say that. Meanwhile, us U.S. citizens, we don't qualify for sickety shit. We don't qualify for nada, nothing. It was so common where the women or the moms in my community that were undocumented, they wouldn't work. They would have their own community of stay-at-home moms. While
That's it. What are you paying taxes for? I just have to ask. People come into this country, pay no fucking taxes, get welfare communities sprung up out of nowhere, fully supported housing, food stipends, Medicare. You get nothing because you have a job and you don't qualify. These people don't have a job and they come in with nicer things than you have and you work and they get everything. How is this even tolerated?
us U.S. citizen moms would have to go out and work because we can't afford to live. And listen, I don't have anything against undocumented immigrants. Like, hey, we're all human beings. I think that if
No, fuck out and get out. Of course, you know, she's Hispanic, so she's going to say, I got nothing against undocumented immigrant criminals. Fucking get out. You broke the law to get in. In other countries, you spend a decade in jail. In America, you get welfare benefits. Get the fuck out. You're a criminal. Stop calling them undocumented. Criminal. That's just simple. Criminal aliens. That's what you got to say. Criminals. Criminal. Call them criminals. I'm so sick of this softening of the language liberals do. Undocumented workers. Undocumented immigrants. Undocumented. Fucking criminal. Rule breakers.
I was an undocumented immigrant, I'd probably take advantage of this loophole too. It's the government, especially the state of California, especially liberal states. It's the government that doesn't allow or put in regulations to limit this kind of fraud and waste. And we're all screwed. Not only us taxpayers who have to pay for this kind of waste and fraud, but when the federal government comes in to enforce immigration laws, people are upset. They're confused. You don't understand why is it that they're being deported? If they've been openly living and getting all these free benefits regardless of their immigration status. We need to do better. The state of California needs to do better. We all need to get on the same page here.
Yeah, and it's a simple way to fix this, but she's Hispanic, so she won't say it out loud. You have to deport the illegals. Like, if you're illegal, you're a criminal and you got to get deported. You got to go home. If they weren't here in the first place, they wouldn't be able to take advantage of the system. You understand how that works? So why are we bringing it? Same with the Somali community and all that. Stop bringing in people that don't have specialized skills that are immediately employable and in need now. By the country now. Why do we need undocumented migrants? Why do we need unskilled labor? Why do we need diversification and any other fucking name they give it? Kick them out. Go home to your countries. You don't have any skills. You're not educated. You don't specialize in anything. You're not needed. Quite literally, you're a drain. The moment you come here, you have to get welfare to survive. You're a drain on the system. You don't provide us with any benefit. You're not a doctor. You're not an engineer. Okay? You're literally a fucking leech. You benefit society nothing. Zero. You give us nothing back. You just take. Why? You can make the argument if we actually had some stringent policies and verification, vetting for these people that are coming. So that means every single foreigner you see on the street could only get here if they were actually a doctor, an engineer, actually a rocket scientist, actually somebody that is like, what could you say? A massive deviation from the norm in their society. Like, we're really taking in the best of the best. Like, if I look and see a Chinese or an Indian, I know for a fact, like, damn, if he's here, then that dude is smart as fuck. If this is how we felt about every single foreigner here, then we wouldn't even have problems with the foreigners that were here, because it's not that many special people in the world with that kind of talent and gift. And if America absorbs them all, then Americans are benefiting. But it's not those people that are coming. Those people are staying in their countries, building up their country. The people that are coming are literally the worst of the worst. The people that are coming are the ones that are seeking the benefits, the welfare, the handouts. And then on top of coming here and demanding everything of the natives, they then have the gall to tell them that, you know, culturally, they're not being placated to as they would need. Culturally, they're going to now need Sharia instituted, that they need our flag to go down because they feel oppressed by it, that they need their own community separated from us, basically calling for a division completely, segregation, and they want their laws and their rules and their customs instituted above the natives in the countries that they're living in, as guests, no less. Like, that shit's crazy. They want handouts. And beyond handouts, they want to rule you, also getting handouts from your country. Like, how does this make any sense to any European or Westerner in general just listening to this? It's like, okay, you spent your entire life working, paying into a system. So did your parents. So did your family. And then you have these people coming over, recent arrivals, and they pay no taxes, take all the welfare that was supposed to be for you that you paid into, and then try to run in your elections and tell you what it means to be a countryman, a fellow brother of your country. Like, what's in UK, they have the arguments about what it means to be British. It means to be a fucking white man or a woman of British ancestry. That's what it means to be British. All the recent arrivals are all like, no, well, Britain is multicultural. Britain is more than just a identity. It's more than skin deep. No, it isn't. It's exactly that, actually. When you think of a British man and a woman, there is a skin color associated with it. End of story. I remember seeing that video. He had like an Indian dude, a black woman, and like a gypsy woman. And they're all three arguing about some shit about Britain. And it's like, the hypocrisy in here. Are we not seeing that? Not a single British person on the panel debating British values. What? That's insane. Dude. Yeah, the last batch of immigrants that have come in the recent, 15, 20 years is horrendous, to say the least, giving a bad rap to basically every single immigrant. I'm surprised that Westerners have not just completely shut the borders down and kicked everyone else out who's come in general. It blows me away the shit people are willing to put up with for the optics of we're diverse and who's pushing this diverse narrative and why is it diverse everywhere but in their community. It's weird how the moment immigrants started showing up, like I said earlier, Martha's Vineyard, all of a sudden they get kicked out real quick, swept off like garbage to the side and put them somewhere else. Well, you wanted them, no? You were asking for it, no? Please explain. Diversity is your strength, but not in my backyard, though. It's kind of crazy how they think like that. And people are right to be upset. Look at this. Migrants' monthly payment in New York City is higher than veteran compensation. Think about this for a second. That's the most insane sequence of words you could possibly hear potentially. Migrants' monthly pay. So illegals, bro. Again, criminal aliens' monthly payment in New York City is higher than a veteran's compensation.
Bruh.
And Americans aren't burning down cities and protesting and rioting over that, dude. America, the country that's supposed to celebrate her veterans. Thank you for serving. Thank you for my freedom that you sacrificed for, is allowing migrants, criminals, to make more than those people who sacrificed their bodies, put their lives on the line. Holy shit, dude. Are we fucking cooked or what? Are the goy gonna wake up?
At Maryland Guy a third donated $4.99. I was at the grocery store yesterday and I saw foreigners using an EBT card. It made my blood boil since I'm paying high taxes here in Maryland.
Yeah. Just diversify harder, bro. I need to make that a shirt. Diversify harder. Diversify me harder, daddy. It's like some dude getting stabbed in the neck. Christ almighty. What are we doing? I'm just curious, when are men fed up with this system? Is the answer to change it, change society, or is the answer to retreat in our individual little caves and goon off in the corner and pretend like I can't wait for it all to fall while rich people consolidate power so that they're never affected by the fall anyways? It's just a managed decline where you're slowly driven to extinction and there's nothing left but rich. Is this how they get to that? What is that on the guidestones? What is the population number? They're trying to get to 600 million people or something like that, 300 million, slowly starving out the masses.
A Dank 911 donated $5. Late for the stream. Had to ban that guy every stream. He just spams stuff that gets deleted by the mod. I can unban him if you want.
No, ban the retards. Don't worry about it. Thank you. Christ. Liberal woman tired of not being able to pay her bills. Signing the petition to give billions of dollars of free shit to illegal immigrants, but not Americans for some damn reason. Yep. I believe everything she says. Over the last 30 years, California's population increased by 23%, while the state's budget exploded by more than 500%. This is one of the reasons why. Uh-huh. The two-tier Medi-Cal system, U.S. citizens, Social Security required, assets electronically scanned. Let me pause that. Full financial verification. Undocumented, no Social Security, paper-only documents, self-reported verification. One side gets audited, the other gets trusted on paper. Wow. Fraud. This is California's DHS website. You can submit your renewal now and upload documents later if needed. Need help? Contact office. Note, proof of citizenship/immigration isn't required to submit this application, but your county may ask for it later. Wow. If you want to, you can add/file under the citizenship, immigration, birth certificate document type for a specific person. Holy shit. And yeah. Hey, beautiful system we have. We're calling it, boys. I got to hop on the community and join everyone on a call. And get to the gym later. Code up some more goodies. Anyways, we'll be on tomorrow. Similar time. I'm trying to get consistent. Trying to stream 5 days a week, but we got so much shit going on. Eventually we'll get there. So appreciate everybody that's tuned in, everybody that's donated. Shout outs to everybody that's been getting the merch, the hats, the gear. Thank you so much. All the members, whether on Kick or the private community. Thank you. And if you haven't, do join us over on Kick, you guys. Once my app is fully complete and I don't need any more testing and shit, we're going to be handing off the stream regularly on Kick only. I just need to collect a lot of data in the background right now. All the logs, finding out all the quirks before release. So, anywho, hope you had a great weekend. And hope the start of your week is good. Go touch some grass. If you've been tuning in for a while now. If you're one of the gooners that has come back late, welcome back. We're done. You missed it. Hope your session was worth it. Deal with the dread of mediocrity. And I'm just kidding. Anywho, take care, boys and girls. We'll catch you tomorrow. Similar time.